joined by our weekly guest, Major Garrett, who joins us on the guest line. Major is the author of The Big Truth, Upholding Democracy in the Age of the Big Lie. He is the host of the Takeout podcast, and he is the chief Washington correspondent for CBS News. Good morning, Major.
Good morning, everyone. How are you?
I think we're doing just fine. We're doing better than the United States government. The debt ceiling has been reached. So now what happens?
Good question. And if you hear some ambient noise in the background, it's because I'm at Ted's Bulletin, a very popular restaurant here in Washington, D.C., because I'm going to be taping the Takeout here in a few moments. And the guest this week is someone who's going to have a lot to say on what we do about raising the debt ceiling and if this government can avoid a default and all the very negative consequences that would come from that. His name is Patrick McHenry. He's the current chair of the Financial Services Committee in the House, and he's a huge negotiator for Republicans on this issue. He's an ally of Kevin McCarthy, the Speaker, and he's gone on record, at least in the past, saying that there should not be a default showdown. There should not be an attempt by Republicans to use the fear of default as leverage in spending cut negotiations with the White House. But just this morning, as we just heard on KMOX, Speaker McCarthy says that's exactly what he wants to have happen. We're going to try to clarify that today because it's a big issue. We've been through default crises before. We've never defaulted as a U.S. government. But when we've come close in the past, it's done real damage to the U.S. economy. And this is going to be the biggest issue for Washington to resolve this spring. And it's going to be a huge test of how well House Republicans can organize themselves and approach the governing fundamentals of the federal government.
Major, it was about, exactly 10 years ago that you spoke with President Barack Obama when he was talking about the urgency of raising the debt ceiling. And then you brought up when he was a senator back in 2006, he gave a floor speech saying why you should not increase the debt ceiling. He voted against increasing the debt ceiling under George Bush. And it feels to me that the debt ceiling conversation, where you land on it, all depends on not you, but the politicians, where the politicians land on it, depends on which party happens to be in power.
That is part of the dynamic. And one of the things that I recall about my encounters with President Obama was he never liked when I reminded him of his voting record, especially when it contrasted with his approach as president. But I did that with some frequency because it's an important thing to do. Hold those in political office account for what they say if it conflicts largely with what they've done or said in the past. And in that case, it did. And I would say on this score, Democrats have a little bit more room to maneuver than Republicans because Barack Obama, as a senator, was kind of an outlier in saying, I don't want to vote to increase the debt ceiling. Other Democrats did, but Republicans have used it as a tool more aggressively than Democrats have. And they have done that as a smaller voice within the larger Republican Party. The key question right now, and this is why a lot of people on Wall Street and the broader sort of economic analysis community of the country are wondering what's going to happen this year, because the ranks of those Republicans, particularly in the House, that really want to drive this issue and don't fear default as much as a previous generation of Republicans did, have larger numbers and more sway. And it was their voice that was pivotal in ultimately going through that 15-vote process to make Kevin McCarthy Speaker. And he made arrangements with them. And they intend to cash in on those, politically speaking, arrangements in order to drive a very hard bargain overextending the debt ceiling. And just to remind the audience very quickly, the debt ceiling has nothing to do with allocating money, spending on this program or that, or defense funding or anything else. It's just about financing the spending we've already agreed to make. But Republicans want to use it as a leverage point in future spending talks, though they are not directly related.
Why can't that just be accomplished in committees? Why does it have to be done now? And I think for people who are paying attention to this, it feels like a hostage situation, which is not really how the average American does not think this is how government should be run.
Correct. So the average American does not have a family budget that has a hard ceiling on debt. Now, if it did, maybe some people would be in a better situation, meaning you can't buy that item of your credit card because you've reached your debt limit. Now, many credit cards have a debt limit, meaning you can't go over above that, but there's no limit on how many credit cards you can have. You can run up as much debt as you want. The federal government, through legislation, has to extend the debt ceiling. Now, we're one of the only, if not the only, large economy in the world that does it this way. Most other economies just keep piling on debt. We have a system where legislatively you have to gain permission to do that. And that process only happens through the House and the Senate and a sitting president coming to an arrangement. That's the only way we can do it. And because we have yet to decide not to do that, this is the way the law works. And as long as the law is governing it this way, this is the only way you can extend the debt ceiling. And if you don't extend the debt ceiling, at some point, and the Treasury Department has made this very clear, it will stop paying bills. And once the Treasury Department stops paying bills, then those who invest in America, whether they're sovereign wealth funds or governments or private individuals, will stop buying Treasury bills. And if you stop buying Treasury bills, then the entire ability of the U.S. government to continue to function becomes more wobbly. That's why this is a huge issue. That's why it's not just about accounting. It's about whether the United States government and the faith and credit of it can be resilient in not only global markets, but for individual Americans who buy Treasury bills for their own investing purposes.
Major, shifting to Joe Biden and the classified documents that were found at the Penn Biden Center as well as at his Delaware home, I feel like as this story has continued to sit, more questions than answers. I have a lot of questions, and some of them are just technical. One would be this, and you might have the answer. The Penn Biden Center, do we know why or who ordered Joe Biden's personal lawyers to go there to pack up his papers? And also, isn't that kind of a pricey packer to have your personal lawyers go to move boxes and papers, or is that something that's normal?
That is not normal. I've never done it. I don't imagine you two have done it when you've moved. I presume at least once in your life you've moved, and I don't believe the first call you made was to your lawyers to do the moving for you. So
it's not normal for an average person. Would it be normal for a president / vice president or speaker of the House or anything like that?
I suppose it could be in a very general sense, but there's a process. When you leave, let me start again. When you leave the federal government, anyone leaves the federal government who had a security clearance. Anyone. Now, of course, if you're the former vice president, you had a security clearance. You're very near the top. There's a process by which you have to catalog. You have an affirmative requirement to catalog everything that you have in your possession that was or is still classified, and you've got to hand it back in. Sometimes people miss things because they're intermingled with their personal papers. That happens. It's, in theory, a criminal violation, but it's almost never prosecuted because it's inadvertent. It's a mistake. People don't intentionally do it, but you have an affirmative responsibility to go through your stuff and hand it back because you're no longer in that position and you no longer have the legal authority to have those documents. So that should have happened when former Vice President Biden left his office, number one. That should have happened back then, way back then. It didn't. Now, those papers were moved from either the Vice President's residence or his office in the West Wing to the Penn Biden Center. They've been moved. This is the second move. So this is now the second inventory where these things should have been discovered but weren't. Why would you have lawyers go through them? Maybe they're looking for something else. Last week on the Takeout, I had Jim Jordan, chairman of the House Judiciary Committee. He said, why were lawyers going through Biden's papers? Were they looking for something else in anticipation of questions we're going to start asking about business deals, about Hunter Biden, about what former Vice President Biden knew or whom he met with? Were they actually looking for something else and stumbled upon these things that were classified? That seems to me to be a legitimate question. And the White House does not want to answer that very fundamental and basic question. Why were lawyers going through these papers and then suddenly discovered them? Were they looking for something else? And if so, what and why?
So then what, because there's already another case that's ongoing with the former president in relation to a very similar situation. What do you think the ultimate public fallout is from this. I wonder if people are just fatigued and generally don't care.
Well, that's certainly a possibility. And there is now, though the cases are different and they are viewed differently under the law. For example, a sitting president or a former president, a sitting president can declassify anything. A sitting vice president cannot declassify anything. Okay? So, as former President Trump has said, these are his words, not mine, I declassified them in my mind. You can't do that, but he thinks that he has the power to declassify, so he thinks they're in a separate category. A vice president with these documents shouldn't have them under any circumstances, and he can't declassify them, not even in his mind, not in any way, shape, or form. The public will look at this and say, well, we've got two special counsels now, meaning they're outside the Justice Department. Someone's going to make a prosecutorial decision at some point. Wake me when that decision is announced. I think that's where most Americans are. I can't get into all these details. I don't want to hear all the citations of federal law. Just tell me when we have a decision. I think that's where most Americans are in both cases.
A quick follow-up to that. The Penn Biden Center for Diplomacy and Global Engagement opened officially in 2018. Why just a few years later were our Biden's aides and personal attorneys vacating that office space?
Don't know that either. Now, it is something that is linked very directly, and the University of Pennsylvania has made public statements about this. They may have made a decision that it's no longer something that they want to invest in, that most of the money, if not all the money for the Penn Biden Center was provided through the University of Pennsylvania. That's why the Penn comes from, and the Penn Biden Center, University of Pennsylvania. And I don't know the ins and outs of that decision, but there have been questions raised by Republicans about, did the Penn Biden Center receive foreign donations? University of Pennsylvania has been adamant that it did not, that all of its funding came from the University of Pennsylvania. There were a couple of stray donations that were used in the like $1,000 or $2,000 denomination amount. And they may have just made a decision that now that he's president, we don't need to do this, and we're going to take our money and invest it elsewhere. But the University of Pennsylvania has tried to explain at least its role financially in this particular think tank.
Major Garrett is the chief Washington correspondent for CBS News, author of The Big Truth, Upholding Democracy in the Age of the Big Lie, and also the Takeout podcast, which he is about to record. So you want to download it, listen to the Takeout podcast. Major, we appreciate your time. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you again next week.
We'll talk next week. Thanks.
That is Major Garrett visiting with us here on the show. Like I said, he does every week. By the way, we have a podcast too. It's on the Odyssey app. The Odyssey app is free, where you can listen to the show, all of KMOX live as it happens, and then you can go back and listen to it if you missed anything. Our podcasts are there for download right now. Just wait. Wait till after the show.
Right. Don't do it right now.
Yeah, don't do it now. Listen to us now, then go back later, and what the hell, listen again, right?
Yeah, or if you missed yesterday, CeCe Moore, genetic genealogist, really interesting story.
Yes.
She's investigating the baby Jane Doe murder from 1983, just north of Forest Park, right here in St. Louis.
Yeah, it's really interesting how they're using DNA to help figure out who this girl is. 40 years later, they still don't know. Her body was found 40 years ago next month. It's just a really heartbreaking story, and it's fascinating how they're going about doing this and trying to track down who her family is. Amy Marks Kors and Chris Ranji on KMOX.
And if you are a business owner and your company has 5 or more employees, and you managed to survive the past couple of years with everything that the pandemic has thrown at you. We're talking restrictions and shutdowns, supply chain issues, worker shortages. It's been a challenge. Well, you could be eligible to receive a payroll tax rebate of up to $26,000 per employee. And it's not a loan, and there's nothing that you'll have to pay back later. It really is just a refund of your taxes. The hard part is cutting through the red tape and making sure you fill out everything correctly to see if your business qualifies, and then if it does, to get that refund money. The best way to do it is going to getrefunds.com. getrefunds.com. The team of tax attorneys that they've put together are highly trained in this little-known payroll tax refund program, and they've already returned $1 billion to businesses, and they can help you too. Businesses of all types can qualify, so even if you took PPP or even if your business saw an increase in sales, you could still be eligible. To find out if your business qualifies, just go to getrefunds.com, click on Qualify Me, and answer a few questions. Getrefunds.com.
St. Louis, your Battlehawks are back. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And this Saturday, you can celebrate at the Armory from noon till 3 at the FanFest 2023 kickoff party. Meet the head coach and select team players. Get autographs and photos. And best of all, it's free. We're celebrating St. Louis football. KMOX.
What if everything you got came with a little bit of money? Spicy chicken ramen with a side of quarters, a full tank of gas, and a $5 bill, an entire pantry's worth of groceries, and a pocket full of cash. Well, then you'd be living life on the upside. The first platform that gives you real cash back in real life wherever you roll. Restaurants, grocery stores, gas stations, all cashback opportunities. So order the expensive appetizer, buy a little extra at the store, fill your gas tank till the pump stops. Because with Upside, you can. Start earning cash back just for doing you. Download the free Upside app and use promo code SPICY for an extra $10 cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more. That's promo code SPICY. Promo code SPICY. SPICY for an extra $10 on the free Upside app. Start living life on the upside with the free Upside app.
Hi, this is Ken.
And Laurie Heisey of Heisey Advisory Group. We're dedicated to helping individuals and families work toward their financial goals.
Join us Sundays at 9:30 a.m. for Your Retirement Highway.
Investment advisory services by individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
It's a new year and the world of travel is open. This is Debbie Monterey inviting you to join me on an exciting and luxurious 8-day Eastern Mediterranean cruise in September from Venice to Istanbul. We'll be cruising on Oceania Cruise Line's classically elegant Nautica with an amazing itinerary starting in Venice, including the Greek island of Santorini, Athens, Split, Croatia, and an overnight in historic Istanbul. Log on to debbiescruise.com, debbiescruise.com, or call the travel store 800-777-6540.
I'm Brian Westbrook with Coalition Life. Over the past decade, Coalition Life has served thousands of women in crisis pregnancies, helping to save the lives of the children that they carry. Help us build a better community while also reducing or completely eliminating your Missouri taxes with a 70% tax credit. A $1,000 donation today to help these women could cost you as little as $141 out of pocket. Learn more at coalitionlife.com, coalitionlife.com. Thank you.
Trusted information, live and local. From the award-winning KMOX Newsroom.
Show on KMOX. I'm looking at Amy Mark's scores.
Oh,
She's
hey,
avoiding
Ron.
eye contact with me, Chris
Well,
Ranji. Hello.
Oh, my gosh.
Welcome into the show. We're glad to have you with us. We didn't get to do really the propers from the beginning of the show because we had Major right out of the gate. He had to record a podcast, so we accommodated him because he accommodates us every week. And we on the show today will also be talking to Brad Young. Brad Young is an attorney with Harris, Dowell, Fisher, and Young. And there is this case I read about a couple of weeks ago. Maybe it was last week. I don't know. But a woman was having a thing with a fella in a car, and she contracted HPV, and it was a company vehicle, and he worked for Geico, and she's trying to sue Geico for it. I'm interested in the legal aspects of it and how that's even the company's responsibility.
I think Geico just insured the car. He also worked for Geico?
I thought he worked for Geico.
That part I missed.
Or maybe it was just, you know what? You might be right. It might just been the insurance.
Yeah, it was just
Either way,
insured by Geico.
it's very confusing.
It makes no sense to me.
Well, I don't know. Maybe legally it does. I guess we're going to find out. Sometimes it sounds stupid, but then you break it down and it doesn't sound as stupid as you thought. Kind of like the hot coffee thing. the McDonald's coffee
That
thing,
to me,
which is different.
is different.
But it is, everybody thought
This
it was
lady
so dumb.
Had
at the
sexy time. She had sexy time.
Sexy time.
In a car.
Yes.
That was
It
insured
was a
by
company
Geico.
car, I thought, right?
We'll figure that out.
Yeah, we'll figure that part out.
But
Either
it was
way, it's
insured by
weird.
Geico, and she got HPV. I don't know how the car has anything to do with this.
Or how Geico is now responsible for her HPV. It's a really
It's
interesting
ridiculous.
case.
Yeah, at least with McDonald's and the hot coffee,
But everybody thought that was ridiculous at the time too.
that became precedent setting, didn't it?
I don't know if it was a precedent.
It was.
Was it?
It
I don't know if it was the
definitely
first one.
accelerated our litigious inclinations. That's for sure.
But it actually made a whole lot of sense. The case made
Yeah.
sense. So maybe Brad Young can make some sense of this, or he'll just say, no, this is really dumb.
Yeah.
Matt Pauley, who is our sports fella, he's not litigious. He'll just put up his dukes and he'll fight you.
He is antagonistic. He's ready to fight. That guy is ready to go. He's a pressure cooker. He's the gentle giant until you cross him.
He's going to join us as well. And representative from the state of Missouri, Marlene Terry,
Mhm.
she represents District 66, will be joining us as well here on the show. So she has the sponsor of HB 66, and she wants to require certain topics be
Mhm.
discussed in school. History curriculum, for example. So we will talk to her. Grades 7 through 12 is what she is focusing on, and we'll get her thoughts on her bill later on in this show. Okay.
Should I tell
Okay.
everybody why
What?
I offended everyone in the office today? I think
Yeah,
I'm
go
going to
ahead.
do it. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. I don't care.
Everyone's mad at me, ladies and
Nobody's
gentlemen.
mad at you.
They're kind of mad.
Who's mad at you?
Our boss, you,
I'm not mad at you.
Andrew.
I'm not mad at you.
Here's what I said. If I could ask, okay, can I just preface this by saying this is not
This
a
is
gotcha.
Amy. This is Amy trying to be a bad person.
No,
Go
it's
ahead.
yeah,
Go
but
ahead.
it's not a gotcha. It's not a own the libs. It's not that. It's quite literally. I was thinking about this last night. I was at home and I was thinking, I wonder if, and my question is, if I had one question to ask Joe Biden, I would ask him, Mr. President, how old are you? And I feel like he would not be able to answer that question. And I'm not trying to do a gotcha. It concerns me because I'm cheering for Joe Biden. He's my president. He's the president of the United States. I'm an American. When I
don't
see
think
him
you're cheering for him.
when I see him speak,
I think you want him to fail
no,
miserably.
I don't. It doesn't.
So Ron DeSantis can be
No,
president.
I don't. It doesn't inspire confidence. And I always think, man, he is a lot worse than I thought. That's how I feel when I see him speak. So, do you think if I said, Mr. President, how old are you? What would his answer be?
And my answer was, I don't know what he'd say, because you asked me, what do you think he'd say? I don't know. I don't know if he'd
And I
be
should have
caught
asked-
off guard by the question. Like, that's a weird question to
So-
ask.
So I
Well, why
I
are
don't
you-
think he would know. I would say he would stumble and be like, oh, my Corvette, I'm old. I'll tell you that. He would do something like that. But other people in the room were offended and said, well, like, I think once you hit 50, you forget how old you are.
That's what I'm saying to you also, is that
But he's
there are
the
times I'm not 50
president.
yet. I'm not, well, it doesn't matter. I'm not 50 yet. And there are times where I still say that I'm 44, but I'm not. Like, I know that I'm 45 and I'm like, I'm 45. No, wait, hold on. I'm not. Once you get to a certain age, like I would say 35, once you get to about 35, it's not uncommon at all for people to say an age and then go, wait a minute. No, that's not right. This is what I am. And when I was young, like in my 20s, I always thought that was a really weird thing. Like, how can you forget how old you are? Then you get older and you realize, oh, the more the birthdays pass by, there are so many birthdays, you just kind of forget.
Do you think, though?
So once you're in your 80s,
Yeah, but I think he would stumble and then not know. I don't think he would know. And then he would be
Well, I think he would know.
defensive that
I
he
think he
doesn't
would.
know.
Well, he might be defensive, but I think he would know. But I think he might have to think about it.
I just feel like he's the president
Amy,
of
how
the
old are
United
you?
States. Well, mine's easy. I'm 39 because I haven't turned 40 yet.
Okay.
How old are you?
45. My
But-
birthday's coming up,
February,
but
January.
just
When is
recently-
your birthday?
March. You're a bad person.
No, we're friends.
People
Friends.
forget how old they are sometimes.
I don't know.
Once you're wrong about this. Once you reach 35,
You're mad.
No, you're so, I hate you. With everything I have. Amy Mark Scores and Chris Ranji on the show.
I'm back to doing what I love and more. Thanks to the Good Feet Store.
Hi, this is Arnold, owner of the Good Feet Store. How many blocks can you walk before you want to sit down because of foot, ankle, knee, or low back pain?
I really just wanted to avoid staying on my feet for very long at all.
Do you hate going to work in the morning because you already know that you're going to hurt?
If you're just in pain, you're hurting, you tend to get a little distracted from what you're working on too.
Come to the Good Feet Store today and try it before you buy it.
I hobbled into the Good Feet Store. It's been one of the best decisions I ever made. It was an investment in life.
Call 314-317-9494 or visit one of our 2 locations on Olive west of I-270 in the plaza with Subway or in Shiloh, Illinois across from Deerbergs.
Thanks to the Good Feet Store.
Individual results may vary. Consult your physician for medical conditions. Visit the website goodfeetstlewis.com. Start the new year on a better foot. Come in and try the Good Feet feeling today. Comfort, energy, performance, and pain relief at the Good Feet Store.
CBS News special report. New Mexico prosecutors say they will charge actor Alec Baldwin with involuntary manslaughter in the fatal shooting on the set of the Western film Rust back in 2021. CBS's Chris Van Cleve.
Baldwin and Hannah Gutierrez Reed, the armorer, have been charged with 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter for the shooting that killed the cinematographer Helena Hutchins. The charges will be filed formally before the end of the month, the DA says.
Baldwin described that killing previously as a tragic accident. He sought to clear his name by suing people involved in handling and supplying the loaded gun that was handed to him on set. Legal analyst Jessica Levinson.
He'll say, I would never pull the gun, but this forensic report indicates that the gun would not have fired if it weren't pulled. Again, it's going to be one of the issues that, assuming this actually does go before a jury, that they're going to have to sort out.
CBS News special report. I'm Steve Kathan.
Charlie Brennan sees clearly thanks to Dr. Bertie and Malhotra. You can too. Go to youridoc.com today or call 314-966-5000.
The NFL playoffs live on Odyssey.
Throws, caught! Touchdown as time expires. Unbelievable turn of events.
Non-stop coverage from the biggest sports radio stations in the country. Podcasts dedicated to each NFL team and postseason games streaming live for free.
Takes the handoff, looks right, throws right, end zone, caught, touchdown.
Your playoffs, your Odyssey. Get in the game and download the free Odyssey app today.
Filing for Social Security could be one of the biggest financial decisions of your lifetime. Find out why with Your Retirement Professors. Saturday afternoons at 1 on St. Louis's News Radio, KMOX.
What really matters to you? At Archwell Health, that's what matters to us. When Linda told her doctor about the trip her family planned for her 70th birthday, our team worked together to improve her mobility. Then there's Shirley, who wanted to lose a little weight. She and her doctor chose an Archwell Health exercise class, and her dietitian also had a few ideas. We're here to help you live your life to the fullest because you are more than a patient. Join today at archwellhealth.com/livewell.
Broadcasting from the Underline Three Lawyers, GetJim.com studios.
KMOX.
Your home of the Cardinals.
Arenado swings and hits it deep to left field. That ball is out of there.
The Billikens.
Jumper. Yes! Billikens win!
The Chiefs.
Touchdown! Kansas City!
We are America's sports voice, KMOX.
Chris Ranji, Amy Mark Scores the show on KMOX. You just heard in the CBS News update that actor Alec Baldwin will be charged with involuntary manslaughter in the death of a cast member or staff of a movie he was working on. When was that? A year ago?
2021 in October.
2021, when he had a gun, believed it to be a prop gun, not loaded. There was a bullet in it. He hit this woman and she was killed on set. I gotta be honest, Ranj, my initial reaction is surprise that he's being charged with involuntary manslaughter. There might be, some legal aspects that I don't understand. But if you're an actor, especially an experienced actor who's been on so many movie and television sets, and you're handed a prop gun by the people who are in charge of making sure the gun's ready to go and all of that, I would assume it's not loaded.
I know that a lot of people don't like Alec Baldwin because of his impersonation of Donald Trump. They found it off-putting.
Oh.
They don't like him. He is very anti-Trump, and I know that colors how people are looking at this
Or
case.
that
but I
his
think you
wife,
need to-
Hilaria, pretended to be, I guess, more Spanish than she is.
I don't know if most people think about that. I think they're worried about Donald Trump. But you have to remove that from this equation. I'm looking at it the same way you are. I don't know if I'm an actor
Mm-hmm.
and somebody in the prop person who I expect to be a professional,
Yeah.
and I've seen a lot of movies, and in a lot of movies, they're pointing guns and firing, and nothing happens to the other person, though they say that they never point those guns directly at somebody else. I don't know how that's true, because when you watch a movie, they're clearly pointing the gun at somebody else.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So-
But I can't imagine being an actor by a professional on set, given a weapon that I believe is a prop weapon, and then asking the question, "Are you sure there's not a bullet in it?"
I mean,
I would never do that. It wouldn't make sense.
and just to be clear, the armorer, Hannah Gutierrez Reed, who was in charge, right, of handing the gun to Alec Baldwin, she is also charged with 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter for the 2021 fatal shooting. This was on the set of the film Rust. If you're an actor, from this point on, how do you accept a gun or a weapon and you have to double check? And is asking enough? Do you have to fake fire it? I mean, that wouldn't make sense if there's one blank. I don't know how that works. But
I've never really understood this story.
I
I've
know.
never really understood, and maybe there's something about acting I don't get. And I feel like I read a lot about this in the months after it happened. I've sort of pushed it off to the side and forgot about it since then. But I never really understood, like, what are you charging? Why are you putting this on the actor? Why are you putting this
know.
on the person whose their responsibility is to act the scene? Their responsibility is to not make sure that all of the props are right.
So in a statement, Alec Baldwin's lawyer said that this represents a terrible miscarriage of justice. Mr. Baldwin had no reason to believe there was a live bullet in the gun or anywhere on the movie set. He relied on the professionals with whom he worked, who assured him the gun did not have live rounds. We will fight these charges and we will win. And again, from what I know, not being there, I'm shocked that he's charged with involuntary manslaughter, and I don't know what they expected him to do.
I totally agree with you. I know. I wish I could disagree and we can have a big argument about it, but it just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. You would think the one person on set who would be responsible for this is the person who is responsible for handing out the guns.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Now, if this does go to a trial, a jury would have to decide under which definition of involuntary manslaughter Baldwin and Gutierrez Reed were guilty. This is according to ABC News. For the first count of involuntary manslaughter, prosecutors would have to prove, quote, underlying negligence, while the second count requires proof that there was more than simple negligence involved in a death. So then they're accusing him of some type of intent to injure if it's more than simple negligence. This case seems like something that if I'm Alec Baldwin's lawyers, I'm throwing all my money at my lawyers and saying, fight this.
So if I'm reading this correctly, it is a 4th degree felony. This involuntary manslaughter would be 4th degree felony, could carry a sentence up to 18 months in jail and a $5,000 fine. So I think you're right about actors moving forward. And look, we put out a lot of movies with guns in them. A lot of
TV shows,
a lot
movies,
of them. TV shows,
all
you're right.
the time. Think
Right.
of all of the scenes filmed. And reportedly, the armorer, when she handed the gun to Baldwin, said, cold gun. So she proclaimed cold gun, which lets the entire crew that no live rounds are being used.
Yeah.
What is he supposed to do at that point?
I don't know. And I when you think about a John Wick movie, which I know you've never seen, there's a lot of close-up gunplay that happens. Like, I mean, he's feet, 2-3 feet from somebody when he's firing a weapon. Maybe it's camera tricks where he's not actually pointing the gun at another human being while filming the movie, but it sure looks like he is. And you have this maybe 3, 4, 5 people in frame, and all of these guns are being fired at once. I don't know how more accidents like this happen. First of all, how's a live bullet on set in the first place?
Yeah.
How's it even get there? And I think back to the Brandon Lee death.
Bruce Lee's son.
Right. When they were filming The Crow, which is a really good movie. I always liked The Crow, and I haven't seen it in a while. And I know they had to go back and sort of CGI him into a couple of scenes because they weren't done filming the movie, and they still needed him, but he was gone. That was not a live bullet. There was something stuck from a previous firing of the weapon in the gun that was used that ended up killing him, and that projectile was stuck in there, and nobody knew it was there. And then the next round that fired shot it out of the gun and killed him. So that's a little bit different. I just don't understand how an actual live round is on a set in the first place. It never should be, right?
Right. No, yeah, I have no idea. Now, I know that several weeks after the shooting, Alec Baldwin was on ABC with George Stephanopoulos, and he said that
he didn't pull the trigger.
Well,
Which
did he
that
also
statement's
say
confusing.
That statement's confusing because I was actually bringing up. I have noted another statement that he made that said he had been told, quote, by people in the know, in terms of even inside the state, that it's highly unlikely that I would be charged with anything criminally, unquote. So he was not expecting these charges to stand up against him. I wonder though if there's got to be some ripple effect in Hollywood.
There has to be, and I'm sure it's already happening now. It's just it's a very confusing, I wouldn't call it an interesting story because it's not that, it's tragic. And I don't really understand how this happens.
So this is kind of along the line, and it's tragic because a woman lost her life, obviously. But you also don't want to imprison someone, wrongly if it was an accident or they didn't have any control over the situation. Have you I've thought about this driving, especially if you're on like a local road, with sidewalks near it, and the speed limit's 40, 45 miles an hour, like on Clarkson. A pedestrian could jump out in front of your car, or, a cyclist. I've thought that, like when a cyclist is on the sidewalk, they could fall off their bike, hit a rock, hit a crack on the sidewalk and fall in front of your car, and you wouldn't have time to stop. That type of thing terrifies me because I'm like, is that involuntary manslaughter? How does that work? And it's a scary proposition. And I think one reason why I feel that fear really strongly, people in Chesterfield will know this area. I was on Baxter Road coming from the valley. So coming from down by like the Smokehouse and Target and everything is right there in Chesterfield Valley, kind of that eastern side of that whole line of chain strip mall stores. And it was like 10:30 at night. It's not very well lit on Baxter Road. And there was a guy, like a cyclist, on the road, like not on the sidewalk, and there's no shoulder. It's kind of curvy and it's dark, and he's all in black, right? He's not wearing any bright colors. He's not wearing any lights. And I'm driving, and I'm not texting. I'm not distracted. I'm just driving. And I round the corner and think, oh my gosh, there's a guy on a bike on this road. And I kind of had to swerve around him. And that probably happened 15 years ago. And that feeling of my stomach sinking, thinking it would have been so easy to hit that
him.
guy.
Yeah. So what's his responsibility? I know that most of the responsibility is on you because you're in the motor vehicle.
Right.
And you're supposed to be paying attention to everything in front of you. But what if you can't see the guy?
Right. You can't see him.
What is a cyclist's responsibility to make sure they're visible?
Yeah.
I don't know the laws on that because I don't bike.
Yeah.
I don't. And I understand why people do. And it's very convenient for a lot. Other people are just doing it for exercise. Sometimes you're mixing convenience and exercise together. But I get it. I feel, though, when I'm driving, and this is probably not the right way to look at it, sometimes I really hate cyclists. Sometimes
No,
because
I totally
they just
do.
kind of they do their thing and they're
And they're
in your way
difficult to
and
pass because some of them are going 30 miles an hour, 25
Yes.
miles an hour.
sometimes
It's
they
scary.
don't obey the actual traffic laws.
Yeah.
Even though they're riding on roads.
And the thing is, we're nice, right? I'm going to respect the cyclist, but that's why so many cyclists get hit. Not them, but I mean, people are impatient or road rage and they try to pass them when they shouldn't.
Exactly.
That's what's dangerous.
There are a lot of reckless drivers
Yeah.
out
And that's on the
and
reckless driver.
there are reckless cyclists too, I
Yeah.
think. But anyway,
I don't know the story with the guy when it was 10:30 at night on Baxter Road, just coming right off of that, the back road behind the smokehouse or whatever it is. It terrified me. And the good news is, and I said 15 years, all I know is long enough that it was before I was texting, right? Before we really were texting. So thank goodness that I didn't glance down at my phone. That's why why the idea of texting and driving terrifies me, because it takes a split second for a kid to run out on the road or a
Yeah.
cyclist to fall or whatever it may be.
a texter writes in. This is Big Blonde Dan,
Okay.
a regular texter to the show. Says, I agree it seems like a lot, but if you were handed a gun by a police officer, for example, told it was unloaded, but then turned and pulled the trigger at someone, there's an argument that the death resulting from action without due caution and circumspection. I
But
feel
that's
like
a police officer,
That's
yeah.
a police officer in a real live situation.
And a real
We're talking
gun.
about a movie set where you're supposed to turn and fire the gun at somebody.
Yeah.
Like, even if you're given a loaded weapon in real, like you're out on the street for whatever reason, and a cop would never give you a gun, but
Yeah.
if he did, and you turned and pointed it at somebody, that's not normal. If you're on a movie set and
Pretending. Your job is to pretend with fake things.
you're supposed to pretend you're shooting people. I don't understand how that would be the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is a very interesting case, and I don't know. I'm sure actors are pretty worried right now, which the majority of people probably don't even care. Amy Marks Kors and Chris Ranji will tell you about things that happened. Did you see this? Coming up next on the show.
Charlie Brennan here. Last year, Beth and I discovered water in the ceiling near the chimney in the front of our house. We immediately called Morelli Tuck Pointing, St. Louis's premier tuck pointer since 1991. The Morelli team then tuck pointed the front and the rear chimneys above the roof and spot tuck pointed below the roof. Morelli used a waterproof mortar that perfectly matched the existing mortar. Then the guys re-cemented the cap, sealed the flashing, and waterproofed the chimney. They then cleaned up so you could never tell any work was done. The Brennans no longer see any water in our front room, and I think if you live in a brick or stone home in need of repair, call the company that's received the Angie's List Super Service Award every year, back to back to back since 2005. Morelli, winner of the BBB Torch Award. Check out their reviews on the Google, Angie's List, and Better Business Bureau websites. MorelliTuckPointing.com, 314-645-1387.
You know when you start up a motorcycle and you hear it go vroom, vroom, vroom when it takes off? I was losing that. I was losing my energy like everybody does as they grow older. And I don't want to be tired. I don't want to look tired, and I don't want to be tired. I started using Balance of Nature about a year and a half ago. Noticed the results immediately. And I went, oh my gosh, this works. This is what I've been missing all my life. I am loving life actually more than I ever have. I missed my va-va voom. I got it back.
Experience the Balance of Nature difference for yourself. See why Kathy Lee Gifford and thousands of others have had life-changing success with Balance of Nature. Take advantage of our New Year's offer while you still can. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com. That's 1-800-246-8751 and get $25 off plus a free fiber and spice when you use discount code KLG.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing, together millions of things for our planet. Now that we have started a new year, think about ways you can help the environment. First, make the switch to green soaps and personal products and green cleaning products for the sink and shower. Use towels made from materials like organic cotton. And finally, make the switch to LED lights, which can last for many years and use very little power. When we each share our one thing, it becomes 100 things, 1,000 things, 1,000,000 things for our planet. What's your one thing?
This is Tom Ackerman for Ophthalmology Associates. For the best eye doctors, you need to see the doctors at Ophthalmology Associates. YourEyeDoc.com, 314-966-5000.
Back to the show.
Yeah, the show
On KMOX.
Did you see that thing? I can't believe it. Something is obviously wrong.
This is a joke, right?
Oh my God. Are you freaking kidding me? No way.
You gotta be kidding me. Don't feel bad. There's no way you could have known that. Now, did you see this with Chris and Amy on the show?
Hey, Ranj, did you see this?
I don't know.
Well, you've flown on an airplane before.
I have flown.
Yeah.
Flown. I've flown on an airplane before.
And there are certain things you're not supposed to bring through airport security.
Hot food?
Right, really?
No, you could probably do that.
You can bring like spaghetti.
You can't bring it on the plane, though. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. The TSA discovered more than 6,500 firearms in carry-on bags last year, setting a new record. It was 6,542 firearms, in fact, that people tried to get through security checkpoints. 88% of those guns loaded.
Oh.
So
okay.
You had 88% of those guns, thousands of guns that people tried to bring through security checkpoints. What's interesting, though, is how they tried to get the guns through checkpoints. One person stuffed their gun into an entire raw chicken.
Oh.
Which I think would be hard to bring on a plane.
Yes.
Raw chicken.
Yeah, I
would
don't know
be
why
hard.
you do that.
I feel like if you're going to stuff the gun in something, don't do raw chicken. Another person disassembled the gun and stuck the pieces in 2 jars of peanut butter. Maybe he thought the peanut butter wouldn't.
I saw that one.
Yeah.
I did see that one. I think TSA posted it. TSA has a really funny Instagram account. They do a lot of puns, and the puns, I think, are funny. They're kind of dad joke-ish.
Mm-hmm.
But they are posting a lot about people who do things you're not supposed to, and they use it as a tip. Hey, don't do this. Don't try to bring these things into an airport. How do you shove gun parts into a peanut butter is hard to work with,
especially if it's like the natural kind
stuff.
Where you have to stir. I have given up. I've given up like the sword. What is it? Excalibur or whatever the
I don't know
sword.
what that is.
Yeah. Well, the sword and the stone. It's like that. Some peanut butters are just impossible.
I see what you're saying.
Impossible.
King
Arthur. Yeah. I don't know how you would do it. Also, I think it would be very, very hard, even without the gun. It would be hard to get a whole raw chicken through security. It would look suspicious.
Did I tell you the raw chicken breast story about I think I told you this.
I think so.
I have a friend who was dating a guy in college, and they had a bad breakup, or he cheated, or I don't know. Whatever. She was mad at him.
If he cheated, I'm on her side.
I don't know if it was that. It's something. She was mad, and she knew where he lived, obviously, and she took a raw chicken breast, and his car was unlocked, and she put the raw chicken breast under the seat of the passenger side.
Yeah.
And left it there. And it was summer or warm. And after a while, obviously, what do you think happens with a raw chicken breast? He could not figure it out. Like, why does this car smell? What's going on? He finally found the chicken breast. He was furious. And she didn't tell him. 4 or 5 years later, after it happened and it had cooled down, she was at a party or something and saw him and told him. And she said he was still livid about it.
Yeah.
Like he lost his mind on her.
I wonder
I can't believe you did that.
I wonder if he lost his car. Because there's a smell.
You can't get it out.
Where you can't get it out. I will say this. I'm going to assume he cheated. And if he cheated, then I'm on the chicken breast lady's side.
I don't think you can do chicken breast because you can't ruin an entire car.
It's not illegal to accidentally leave a chicken breast under the seat.
You can't. I look. You're not supposed to cheat on your person.
Keep your pants up. Don't.
Yeah, but don't
cheat.
You can't ruin somebody's vehicle.
It's not her fault. Maybe she probably thought he had a better, sense of smell and could have figured out. I'm going to look under all the seats. He should have. I would have looked under all the seats immediately.
I don't know if I would have done that. I would have thought something got spilled
your fault.
in the seats or whatever.
Get the car detailed.
Hey, how about my guy, George Santos?
If that's his name.
People, everybody just perished. And I get emotional. My parents were both down there the day of the attacks, and fortunately none of them passed. But to see that the families of those who lost their loved ones will will be recused from having a ceremony, which, like you said, is part of their support group.
That was George Santos when he was a candidate for Congress on something called Biz TV. And he's talking about his parents who were at ground zero on 9/11. He had even on his campaign website, had said his mother was in her office in the South Tower on September 11th, 2001. That's horrific, right? Well, turns out his mom may not have even been in the country at the time. There was his real name, I believe now, is Anthony DeValder.
Wait, George Santos?
Yeah, you didn't know about this?
Well, because I kept
he used
saying
to go by
if
Anthony DeValder.
if that's his name.
Right. He used to go by Anthony DeValder. Now it's this. His mom, Fatima DeValder, applied for a U.S. visa in 2003. She wasn't even in the country between 1999 and 2003. And this is according to immigration documents.
Yeah, this guy.
So the guy wasn't even, his mom wasn't even here. How could she be at nine? How could she be at ground zero working in the South Tower?
Yeah, and initially I thought he said she did die
of cancer later on.
Okay.
Yes.
It's very hard to keep up with his lies. This guy is a pathological liar, and in the same way that when detectives are looking at, cold cases or just trying to solve a crime, and one detective said, "I'm never lucky enough to get a true sociopath because they're actually very rare." This guy seems like a rarity.
Did you also see a veteran, a homeless veteran who was given a dog, like a service animal, and the service animal had developed a stomach cancer and needed a surgery, and Anthony DeValder / George Santos was involved with a charity to help raise money for the dog, started a GoFundMe, raised something like $6,000 and disappeared. Jeez. That was another report. The veteran claims that. He says that didn't happen. He is, of course, denying it. I know politicians lie, but this guy is otherworldly.
Yeah, right. It's pathological. It's crazy.
Unbelievable. We're going to talk to Brad Young about that HPV case when we come back on the show.
At Neovitin, our goal is to create safe, dependable multivitamins to support your everyday nutrition when you need it most. That's why Dr. Ribicki formulated Neovitin Original Formula Multivitamin with 20 daily ingredients, including B vitamins for energy support, vitamin C for immune support, and our 4-ingredient proprietary blend that you won't find in any other multivitamin. With a 4.8 out of 5-star rating on Trustpilot, you can be sure you are getting the highest quality nutritional support with Neovitin. And as always, a portion of the proceeds from the sale of Neovitin Original Formula Multivitamin are donated to the Ribicki Foundation to support pancreatic cancer research. That's nutritional support you can feel good about. Support your best life today with Neovitin Original Formula Multivitamin, available at your local Dierbergs, Schnucks, select independent pharmacies, and online with our easy-to-use monthly subscription at neovitin.com. That's neovitin.com. neovitin.com.
Are you concerned about outliving your money? Well, how would you like to have guaranteed growth and a lifetime of income you may never outlive? Join me, Ben Coons, for the Retirement and Income Radio Show, heard here every Saturday at 3 p.m. on KMOX Radio. You can also call me now for your complimentary retirement and income book at 844-513-SAFE. That's 844-513-7233.
Hi, I'm Christina Straight, owner of Straight Realty. Did you know that you can list your home with a full-service real estate brokerage for only 4%? Straight Realty is licensed in Missouri, and we would love to talk to you about a winning strategy to get your home sold while saving you money. Call us at 314-441-4444, 314-441-ALL-4s. Call us at 314-441-4444. Why pay more than 4?
KMOX, KECK HD2, K254CR, St. Louis.
The legendary voice of St. Louis, KMOX. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing, together millions of things for our planet. Don't forget about the environment when making New Year's resolutions. This year, resolve to recycle more. Recycle paper, bottles, and cans. Reuse paper and plastic bags, and get a reusable bag for groceries. Recycle old clothes by donating them to charity. And recycle old electronics like TVs, computers, and cell phones at appropriate e-waste facilities. When we each share our one thing, it becomes 100 things, 1,000 things, 1,000,000 things for our planet. What's your one thing?
Men suffering from erectile dysfunction or PE, regardless of age or past medical history, you'll see instant results on your first visit at Paramount Men's Medical Center. And for a limited time, your initial consultation and first treatment are totally free. Call now, 314-720-8081.
With each breath, allergens, germs, and viruses get trapped in your nose. Now there's a simple, easy, and effective way to clean your nose and protect your health. It's called Navage. Navage. Available at Navage.com. Mid-America's most trusted source for news. KMOX.
At 11 o'clock, it's cloudy and 39 degrees downtown at the Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun. Our top story this hour. Actor Alec Baldwin and a weapons specialist are charged or will be charged with involuntary manslaughter in the fatal shooting of a cinematographer who was killed on a New Mexico movie set, prosecutors announced today, citing a criminal disregard for safety. Involuntary manslaughter can involve a killing that happens while a defendant is doing something that is lawful but dangerous and acting with negligence or without caution. The charge is a fourth-degree felony punishable by up to 18 months in jail and a $5,000 fine under New Mexico law. The charges also include a provision that could result in a mandatory 5 years in jail because the offense was committed with a gun. Charges will be filed by the end of January. CBS's Chris Van Cleve.
Today's decision comes just 3 months after Baldwin and his fellow producers reached a settlement with Hutchins' family. The deal will allow production to resume sometime this month.
Leaders around the world are learning more about Illinois at the World Economic Forum in Switzerland. Governor J.B. Pritzker is there.
Having very important conversations with world leaders and promoting Illinois as a major player on the world stage, talking to businesses that are here, including major tech companies as well as other industrial players.
Today is the final day of the forum. Pritzker is speaking at the Joint Governors Policy Meeting on Industry Infrastructure and a roundtable on chartering the course to COP28. Advocates for Missouri nursing home residents hope a new federal investigation will stop the unnecessary use of antipsychotic drugs.
In Missouri, it's about 28% of all nursing home residents at some point in their stay receive some sort of psychotropic drug or antipsychotic. So what we see is it's really in the general population, only 1% of people actually really need these drugs. So it's overwhelming to think about the number of people who are getting these that shouldn't be getting these.
Marjorie Moore, executive director of Voice, tells KMOX use of the drugs can be deadly for individuals with dementia. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services is launching investigations this month into select nursing homes to verify whether patients have been properly diagnosed for psychiatric disorders. The KMOX Business Desk, the nation is souring on the healthcare system. CBS's Jim Krasula.
Fewer than half of Americans view the quality of U.S. healthcare as excellent or good. That's according to a new Gallup poll. 21% of people see healthcare as poor. 10 years ago, more than 60% of Americans viewed healthcare favorably.
A third of those surveyed said the quality of healthcare was just fair. The Treasury Department is expected to confirm today that the United States has reached its limit for borrowing to pay the nation's debts. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy has said he'd like to talk with President Biden about future spending plans, but that conversation is not likely to happen, says CBS News Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes.
The tone that he's setting right now is that he does not plan to negotiate with Republicans over raising the debt ceiling.
And taking a look at traffic.
KMOX Aki with her win.
We've got emergency vehicles on 70 East on the ramp from Lucas and Hunt, and there's a crash in that area as well. There's also an incident on 141 going north at Olds Woods Mill and some debris on 44 East at Williams Road. The right lane is closed. The forecast is sponsored by Sandberg Phoenix Law Firm.
KMOX Aki with her windy and cold with some showers of snow or rain, especially city north and west. Temperatures slowly falling. Real feels in the 20s. We're down to 30 tonight. Clearing and blustery and cold. Real feels in the teens. Back up to 41 with sunshine tomorrow. A mix of rain or snow Saturday night into Sunday. With AccuWeather, I'm meteorologist Dean DeVore in the voice of St. Louis, KMOX.
It's cloudy and 38 in Florissant, 39 in St. Peters, and 39 downtown at the Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
It's the show on KMOX. Amy Marks Kors and Chris Ranji. Hello. Good to have you with us. Hour 2 of the show today. And we go back to the guest line. Our favorite attorney, Brad Young, from Harris, Dowell, Fisher, and Young is joining us on the guest line. You have a coffee mug from the place?
Brad, I'm holding my Harris, Dowell, Fisher, and Young LLC cup.
Good. Very good. Well, I just want to let you both know that in light of your discussion at the end of last hour, my name is really Brad Young.
Okay.
Okay.
But Fisher's still around, huh?
Well,
he's still around, but I know with George Santos, we were not really
Are
sure
you
what his
sure?
real name is.
Yeah.
But my name is really Brad Young.
Has it always been?
It has always been Brad
Okay.
Young. Yes.
Yeah, I don't mind name changes.
Is
but-
it Bradley?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now we see it. Now we see
Some
here.
real
Okay, so I do have an
gaslighting going
alias,
on here. Okay. Brad, you just heard the Alec Baldwin stuff and what the intent is, or they're going to charge him with involuntary manslaughter. Without being on set, what you do know of it, does this seem like about the right thing?
Well, what I believe is going on here by charging Alec Baldwin with involuntary manslaughter, that's really the top of the possible charges. Under Arizona revised statutes, you can be charged with involuntary manslaughter. Its definition is recklessly causing the death of another person. But one of the main defenses against that is if the defense can prove that they were not aware that there was a danger, or that they didn't consciously disregard the risk because they weren't aware of the risk and couldn't have reasonably been made aware of the risk, that's a complete defense to that charge. And I believe that Alec Baldwin can take the position that it was my understanding this was a non-firing gun. I had no reasonable expectation to believe that the gun would be loaded with real ammo. And so I think he's going to have a very valid defense to that. Now, having said that, there are lesser charges, and prosecutors will often do that. They'll put out one main charge, and then they'll kind of surreptitiously put in a lesser charge so that the jury has an option. Rather than just acquittal, they can convict him of a lesser charge. And that's frankly what I see happening here.
I just find that maybe upsetting or surprising that you have an actor who's been in a lot of movies and TV shows. There's a lot of shooting. There are a lot of guns. I mean, think of all of the shows that are on TV, and you have an armorer who is on set that you trust, and she walks up and says, "Cold gun," hands you the gun. Are you supposed to question her and say, "Are you sure?" What's an actor supposed to do? Their whole lives are just acting out these scenes in grueling days.
Exactly.
I mean, if I'm an actor now, I'm thinking, okay, well, is it exculpatory if I just double ask, are you sure it's not loaded? Is that what he was supposed to do?
No, I don't think so, because the law always talks about what's a reasonable expectation, particularly when you're talking about criminal charges like this. There's a Latin term called mens rea, which in the law means that you had a state of mind. And in this instance, there was no state of mind, a criminal state of mind with regard to Alec Baldwin. Now, I don't personally like Alec Baldwin, and we probably couldn't agree on anything other than that today is Thursday. But that doesn't change how the law is applied. And so when I look at this, I don't really see that there's any true likelihood that he would be convicted of involuntary manslaughter, because he wasn't reckless, and there was no expectation that that gun would be anything other than a prop gun.
Before we move on to the reason that we initially had you on the show today, just one more thing. Let's, for the sake of argument, I have heard and was actually just talking to Stuart McMillan in the newsroom about this a moment ago. And I do recall months ago when this thing first happened, them saying that the set of that movie was kind of loosey-goosey, like they weren't, it wasn't the strictest environment. Knowing that to be true, does he have more responsibility then to be a little safer when he's handed a weapon?
Chris, that's a great question. And I think if there's so many facts that we don't know, but if I could manufacture some facts, like, for example, to say that Alec Baldwin was participating in the hot firing of that gun, they were probably, shooting prairie dogs or something. And if he had participated in that, then I think there would be an excellent argument from the prosecution that he either knew or should have known or could reasonably anticipate that that gun was hot. But if he wasn't participating in that, then it becomes questionable, because does that raise his level of reasonableness of expecting there to be a hot gun on the set if he wasn't participating in or had any direct knowledge of them firing guns off set? That's something that's going to have to come out through discovery.
Okay, Brad Young. There is this case that caught my eye a week or two ago. And it is this comes out of Jefferson City, Missouri. And a woman who'd been awarded $5.2 million in damages because she said she contracted HPV while she was in the car with a man who was insured by Geico. The car was insured by Geico.
It was
And
a
she
2014 Hyundai Genesis.
Yeah, 2014. An arbitrator ruled her the $5.2 million, and that has been overturned. Explain to me how. First of all, what's the real liability if you have a, sexy time in a car with somebody? How is it the insurance company's responsibility to make a payout to you?
Well, there's so many. I got to tell you, I'm honest with you, there are so many jokes that come to my mind right now.
Don't do any of them. Let me have them.
You could do
I
them
had
all.
about 5 lines that and I thought, I'm not going to do that. Here, let me seriously break down this case, and I'll try not to ridicule the facts here, but essentially what happened is this, and I need to walk you through the procedures before we comment on what the real liability is, because there was some things that happened in the background on this case. Well, obviously there's a lot of things in the background, but legally there was something in the background here, and this is what happened. The plaintiff, the woman, and the defendant, the man, none of them are named, and what they did is they executed an agreement where the woman said, I will not hold you personally responsible, and I will agree to only go against your insurance company if you will agree to binding arbitration. And so he agreed to that because he had nothing to lose. And so that's what this arbitration was, where they went and the arbitrator awarded $5.2 million. That was because they had made that personal agreement between the two of them. So once that agreement was made and the arbitration was done, in the absence of Geico had no participation in this. Then the plaintiff went and filed suit in court to enforce and make Geico pay the $5.2 million. So fast forward to the Supreme Court. The Missouri Supreme Court held that in this instance, it was unlawful to hold Geico responsible for that because they were not allowed to participate in the underlying arbitration. So that's why that $5.2 million was vacated. It's going back to the courts now where Geico gets to participate. But the main issue here, there's really 2 main issues here, Chris. First of all, can an insurance company be held liable for an HPV, sexually transmittable disease in a car? And my feeling is that is not something that's within the scope of the insurance policy. And we'll have to see that because now we're going to have discovery on that point, which it wasn't done before. There was a lot of discovery in this case. But the second issue is, what is his policy limits? I can pretty much promise you that this guy did not have $5 million of policy limits on his auto insurance. Most people have a maximum of $100,000 before it goes to some sort of an umbrella policy. So when you boil it all down, I think the most that Geico could ever be held responsible is for the policy limits of the man. And even then, the question is that something that the insurance company is even responsible for?
I mean, it's so weak because using her logic or their logic, she could accidentally get pregnant in this car, and then the guy is responsible for, childcare payments. He's got to pay for that kid, and he thinks, you know what? Let's do our own arbitration, and basically, I have no responsibility as a father of this child paying for this child, but my insurance company does if you agree to this same agreement, and they agree to it. Now Geico's making childcare payments. That it would be the same exact reasoning.
Yes, it would. And that's why at the end of the day, this to me looks a lot like that famous case where the woman spilled McDonald's coffee in her lap and got $10 million.
I thought that was more legit.
That wasn't legit. It eventually, the whole thing the entire case eventually went away. because it was overturned on appeal. It went back down at the lower courts, and then it was settled for pennies on the dollar.
Wasn't McDonald's
So-
liable for over boiling their coffee so it wouldn't taste as bad? It was in the manual.
It was in the manual, but there was also a disclaimer there where McDonald's warned you. So at the point that the plaintiff was warned, it becomes an assumption of risk. So that's why that entire case, it's legendary. But it was the reality is it was resolved, and no one got anywhere close to millions of dollars. Never happened. And I think this is going to live forever. This case, this Geico case, is going to live forever for the same reason, because you have to laugh at the facts. And then at the end of the day, this will disappear. It'll be settled for pennies on the dollar, and we won't hear from it again.
It will live forever like HPV.
I was going to say like
Hey,
the virus. Okay.
I do have a
Like
question.
the gift that keeps on giving.
Oh my gosh.
man. Okay, so beyond just the insurance company's liability, what is the liability of if two people get together, they have sexy time, and they're not using protection when they do it or whatever, and one of them gives the other person something? What is the liability of the person who had the disease? And I'm especially curious about HPV, because that's one where they say the infection rate for men is 90% and for women is 80%. It's so prevalent. So then what's the liability then?
Well, the only thing we have to go on, I don't think there's a whole lot of HPV transmission cases at the Court of Appeals, but one of the things that we have to go on is HIV. And there have been cases in the past where people have been held criminally responsible for knowingly having relations with someone and not disclosing that they have HIV. So at the end of the day, it's going to come down to, in your hypothetical, Chris, does the person who has HPV, do they know they have it? Were they told? Did they have a reasonable expectation that it could be transmitted? And then by not informing the other person, that is the basis of negligence. So you could have theoretically a civil case over that, but you'd have to show that the transmitter of the sexually transmitted disease knew they had it and knew that there was an opportunity to transmit it, and then took no steps to mitigate that transmission.
Brad Young, we appreciate the legal expertise. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you for keeping your jokes to yourself.
Well, I do have to tell you, it was really hard to discuss the sexually transmitted disease and then talk about mitigating the transmission. I mean, that was extremely difficult, I got to tell you.
All right, Brad.
I think never
That's
mind.
it. Brad's grounded. He's grounded from the show.
I said nothing wrong. It complied with all FCC guidelines.
Well, they do say, like, when it comes to car trouble, transmission is one of the worst.
That's true, but there is medication for that.
Okay. You guys are, you know what? You're both done. You're both done.
Don't have sexy time in a car with someone that's going to give you HPV.
Well, okay. So that eliminates all the possibilities. Guys, thank you. Brad, thank you. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
You
That's
act
Brad
like you're
Young.
saying goodbye to me. All right, guys.
I
Brad,
kicked
Amy,
you out of the
thank you
studio.
so much.
I kicked you out of the studio.
This
for that.
is the most
You're out.
ridiculous story. This is like the Geico commercial. There's actually a Geico commercial. I think it's Geico, where the guy doesn't hook his boat up to the car, right, or whatever, and he goes, "I hit my boat with my car. If I don't have car insurance, but I have boat insurance, am I okay?" Like, basically, will the boat cover any accidents that happen on the road? I don't think it did.
No. And the number that I gave you, that is the number that is
You're saying in the population?
Sexually active adults, it's estimated at around 80%.
80% of women have it and 90% of men.
That's the estimation, yes.
That's pretty high.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't know they have it.
I would assume so if the numbers are that high.
Amy Marks Kors, Chris Ranji, you are listening to the show.
Well, if you're a business owner and you have 5 or more employees and you manage to survive the past couple of years with everything that they have thrown at you, you could be eligible for a tax rebate. That's right. You could be eligible to receive a payroll tax rebate of up to $26,000 per employee. And now, again, this is if your business has 5 or more employees and you manage to make it through the past couple of years. Even if you saw profit over the past couple of years, an increase in sales, even if you took some PPP money and you think, okay, well, I'm not eligible. your company, your business still might qualify. Just go to getrefunds.com. Getrefunds.com. Click on Qualify Me and answer a few questions. Now, the payroll tax refund is available only for a limited amount of time, so you don't want to wait. Go to getrefunds.com. The team of tax attorneys that they've put together are highly trained in this little-known payroll tax refund program, and they've already returned $1 billion to businesses, and they can help you too. GetRefunds.com.
Have you got your tickets yet for the DGS Live?
January 26th at the Wildey Theater in Edwardsville.
They're going fast.
It's an absolute riot.
The DGS Live.
January 26th.
Sponsored by Weber Chevrolet. For tickets or more info, kmox.com/events.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ziprecruiter.com/radio. That's ziprecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
If you owe the IRS, you have a legal issue, and you need the Lance Drury Law Firm. We'll protect your rights. Log on at lancedrurylaw.com.
I'm back to doing what I love and more. Thanks to the Good Feet store.
Hi, this is Arnold, owner of the Good Feet store. How many blocks can you walk before you want to sit down because of foot, ankle, knee, or low back pain?
I really just wanted to avoid staying on my feet for very long at all.
Do you hate going to work in the morning because you already know that you're going to hurt?
If you're just in pain, you're hurting, you tend to get a little distracted from what you're working on too.
Come to the Good Feet store today and try it before you buy it.
I hobbled into the Good Feet store. It's been one of the best decisions I ever made. It was an investment in life.
Call 314-317-9494 or visit one of our 2 locations. On Olive, west of I-270 in the plaza with Subway, or in Shiloh, Illinois, across from Deerbergs.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
Individual results may vary. Consult your physician for medical conditions. Visit the website goodfeetstlewis.com. Start the new year on a better foot. Come in and try the Good Feet feeling today. Comfort, energy, performance, and pain relief at the Good Feet store.
It's a new year and the world of travel is open. This is Debbie Monterey inviting you to join me on an exciting and luxurious 8-day Eastern Mediterranean cruise in September from Venice to Istanbul. We'll be cruising on Oceania Cruise Line's classically elegant Nautica with an amazing itinerary starting in Venice, including the Greek island of Santorini, Athens, Split, Croatia, and an overnight in historic Istanbul. Log on to debbiescruise.com, debbiescruise.com, or call the travel store 800-777-6540.
The NFL playoffs live on Odyssey.
Throws, caught! Touchdown as time expires. Unbelievable turn of events.
Non-stop coverage from the biggest sports radio stations in the country. Podcasts dedicated to each NFL team. And postseason games streaming live for free.
Takes the handoff, looks right, throws right, end zone, caught, touchdown.
Your playoffs, your Odyssey. Get in the game and download the free Odyssey app today.
Nearly a century of informing, entertaining, and serving St. Louis. KMOX.
You know, Amy, we're always talking about traffic violations and how the city of St. Louis people are just, hey, whatever you want to do.
Anything goes.
This one is one of the I would consider to be, well, I shouldn't say it's minor because it's not. It's not safe to have burnt out headlights or burnt out turn signals or taillights. You got to have those, right? But I guess compared to driving 60 in a 20, it's probably better than that. There's this story out of Bloomington, Illinois, which is the home of my alma mater, Illinois State University. Well, Bloomington Normal. It's the Twin Cities.
And the home of State Farm.
And the home of State Farm.
And the home of my cousin, Will, from Bloomington.
Country Financial used to be called Country Companies, is, I mean, they're like an insurance financial company, whatever, and they are headquartered there as well. Well, Country Financial has contributed to this effort by the Bloomington Police Department, and they've given $6,000. And here's what they're doing in Bloomington now. If you have a burnt out light and they pull you over, instead of giving you a ticket, instead of giving you a citation, they're giving you a voucher for up to $250 to go get your light fixed.
That's awesome. And I will say, people might think, oh, it doesn't cost $250. It actually does. I didn't know headlights were so expensive until mine went out when I was in Colorado. I was going on a road trip, right? Driving. Can't drive without a headlight. It was $250 to get that headlight replaced.
It is. The smallest things tend to be as expensive as like more than you would think.
Like, oh, we got to do this. Yeah.
So, Bloomington police say that they have pulled over more than, in 2022, they pulled over 11,000 people for one of those violations.
It seems like a lot.
And actually end up only giving out citations to about 2% of those offenders. Here's what's funny. The one and only time in my entire life I was pulled over for having a light out was in Bloomington, Illinois.
Are you serious?
Yeah, he pulled me over, and I knew my turn signal was out. I don't know how it happened, but I knew it was out. And so I did the thing where I was turning left, and I put my arm out the window to signal. I did the arm. Well, I knew the cop was behind me, so I saw him. I put my arm out.
So
I
you
signaled.
couldn't
I'm
plead
turning.
ignorance.
Right. I turned left, and then he pulled me over immediately, and we, we're off to the side of the road, and he said, were you flicking a cigarette out the window, or were you signaling because your turn signal's out? And I said, I don't smoke. So I said, my signal is out and I know. And he goes, okay, we'll go get it fixed. And I said, okay. And then he let me go, and that was it.
Very nice.
So what they're trying to do is they say part of the reason they're doing this is to ease the tension of a traffic stop, because it is a tense situation for the drivers. It is for the police. And a lot of times not a lot, but it does sometimes turn into something worse than just a simple traffic stop. So they're trying to alleviate that to an extent. I wonder if this is going to work, because it sounds like kind of a good idea.
So it is a program called Lights On, and it was started by a Minneapolis-based nonprofit. And it sounds like something that could help build relationships between the community and law enforcement. And it's funny because I had an old Mazda 3, and it was there's base model, right? And then there's the model below base model. I don't know what
whatever
it is.
that is.
What like not quite done. Like it got pushed off.
It's the gung-ho version.
Yes, it got pushed off the assembly line a couple steps too early. But it was the first car I ever bought. And it didn't have automatic locks. So it was one of those where you had to lean back when you let your friends in the car.
Oh, that's
and
the worst.
Lean and unlock the car. Also, when people would come up on your passenger side and motion to roll down the window, I couldn't, because it had crank windows. So it was like,
Can you imagine we used to have to live like that?
I lived like that into my 20s. It wasn't that long ago.
We used to have to live by leaning over and cranking the thing on the other side.
When we say I used to, I'm like talking about 2015.
Yeah,
so
it wasn't
that long ago. Yeah, but I also left my car unlocked. But it had a headlight that would go on and off. And sometimes it would stay on for 3 weeks, and sometimes it would go out. I bet I got pulled over 5 times for that headlight.
We want to talk to Bloomington Police Chief Jamal Symington. Yeah. We are efforting him. We do expect, hopefully, to be talking to him sometime in the future. I want to see how this program works out. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I could have gotten my light paid for 20-something years ago. What the heck, man? You're listening to the show on KMOX.
Dave Glover.
I found a new kind of anger that I have.
A man not afraid to share his feelings.
Deli counter anger. I was in no particular hurry when I was at the deli counter, but it's just this guy. He's like, and he's taking his glasses and he's looking at it, and he's already had 3 different things. 3. You get 3, and that's it, and then you leave.
The Dave Glover Show. Weekdays beginning at 1.
You need somebody in the background to be like, you get nothing and like it.
On KMOX.
Just when you thought a Genesis couldn't be more attractive, Genesis of St. Charles strikes again, offering you no car payments until April. That's right. Own a brand new Genesis and no car payments until April. Hurry in to Genesis of St. Charles, located in the St. Charles Hyundai building, located a quarter-mile east of Mid-Rivers Mall Drive off 70, or online at genesisofstcharles.com. Interest, if any, accrues during the deferral period, expires month's end. Genesis of St. Charles.
Overhead Door Company of St. Louis is hiring commercial and residential technicians and installers. Do you have a technical background? Are you mechanically and or electronically inclined? Overhead Door Company of St. Louis offers a paid training program, company vehicle that you take home, health benefits, competitive pay, starting bonus, and much more. Now hiring commercial and residential technicians. Go to overheaddoorsstlouis.com to learn more. Overhead Door Company of St. Louis, the genuine, the original.
At 11:30, it's cloudy and 39 degrees downtown at the Arch. The number of people seeking unemployment benefits in the U.S. reached a 4-month low last week, a sign that employers are holding on to their workers despite the Federal Reserve's efforts to slow the economy and tamp down inflation. Germany faces mounting pressure to supply battle tanks to Kyiv, and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is airing frustration about not obtaining enough weaponry as Western allies confer on how best to support Ukraine nearly 11 months into Russia's invasion. IDOT is closing the inside lane of I-270 west between Illinois 3 and Riverview Drive starting early Saturday morning. The department says drivers should expect delays while crews close the lane for surveying. And right now, there's a crash on 44 East at Big Bend. The 3 right lanes are closed. Avoid 44 East at Big Bend. Emergency vehicles on 70 East on the ramp from Lucas and Hunt, and there's been a crash in that area as well. And a stalled vehicle 70 West at West Florissant, the left lane closed. Windy and cold this afternoon with some showers of snow, maybe rain, especially from the city northwest. Temperatures falling. AccuWeather Real feels mainly in the 20s today. Blustery tonight with a clearing sky, a low near 30. For tomorrow, sunny, breezy, and chilly with a high of 41. It's cloudy and 39 degrees downtown at the Arch now. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
Sponsored by Pfizer. When temperatures drop, COVID-19 cases may rise. So, if you test positive and are at high risk, act fast. Even if your symptoms feel mild, ask your provider if an authorized oral treatment could be right for you. Visit treatcovid19.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Hey guys, Glover here with my friends Mark and Neil Gelman from the Gelman team of eXp Realty. Selling your home, every situation is unique. Find the best options that are right for you from the real estate team who offer more options. My friends Mark and Neil Gelman. Check out the only agents that I trust at thegelmanteam.com.
Broadcasting from the Underline Three Lawyers, GetJim.com studios.
KMOX. Hey guys, Glover here with my friends at ThrottleNet. So I'm so very proud to have represented the guys at ThrottleNet for all of these years. They are the IT geniuses. George and Mike are the owners. Fantastic guys. They can do all of your IT. They can do a portion of your IT. They have the best Apple support team. Their response time is under 2 minutes. Think about that, under 2 minutes. Something goes sideways with your IT, and they are solving your problem. And they're solving your problem within 2 minutes. Now, let's talk about cybersecurity. Most companies in St. Louis don't have cyber liability insurance. You get hit, you're on the hook, you're probably out of business. With ThrottleNet, if we represent you, we protect you. The first $500,000 that someone hits you for, which isn't going to happen, but if it does, we pay it. $500,000. That's what you're covered for with ThrottleNet. Go to throttlenet.com/DGS for all the information.
Your home of the Cardinals.
Arenado swings and hits it deep to left field. That ball is out of here.
The Billikens.
Jumper. Yes! Billikens win!
The Chiefs.
Touchdown! Kansas City!
We are America's sports voice. KMOX.
Amy Marks Coors, Chris Ranji. It is the show on KMOX. Good morning to all of you. We hope you're listening on 1120 AM or 98.7 FM, or even better, the Odyssey app. The Odyssey app is free. You can take it with you wherever you go, on your phone, on your tablet, and you can go back and get the podcasts as well. So whatever you missed on the show, great interviews, and we've had some of those. A lot of good ones yesterday. We've already talked to Brad Young and Major Garrett today. If you missed them all, they're all on the Odyssey app. You definitely want to download it. It's free. KMOX.com as well. Back to the guest line.
It's more, this is like a regular guest, more of like family.
Yeah, he
rather
is.
than
Yeah,
a
he's
guest.
family. He's the uncle that always wants to start a fight.
Oh yeah.
It's Matt Pauley, the sports fella, with us. Hey, Matt, you punched anybody lately?
I have never punched anybody in my life. Thank you very much.
Not yet.
Punch McGee. That's what we call you.
Yeah, that's what we call you.
How do you
So
feel
if
about
I'm
that?
the uncle, does that mean you're my nephew and nieces? Then you have nephew and niece?
Well, you're not supposed to hit the kids.
Oh my gosh.
I can't tell you guys stories anymore.
No, but
like
we love
it
your
was,
stories.
It was a nice little story, and it wasn't really that big of a deal, but it was kind of funny. And you guys just take it and run
got
with
into
it.
a fight in the Cardinals
I did not
caravan
get into
while
a-
Lars Nootbaar was signing autographs.
Gonna pick a fight. Where you going, Matt?
Yeah.
He's a dangerous.
Here's
He's a
what's
dangerous
so awesome.
man.
You need to follow the show on Instagram because we have these awesome reels that are
At the show KMOX.
At the show KMOX on Instagram. And it's the best highlights from the show. And our best highlight from the other day was Matt Pauley talking about the fight he got into during the Cardinals caravan. And he goes, well, here's the thing. We had a signing for the kids.
I love that's how he started it. Well, here's the thing. There were kids.
There are kids.
A bunch of kids in line. Wait, hold on a second. All right.
You got a fight in the Cardinals caravan in front of kids. Lars Nootbaar is like signing. His pen slows down as he looks up. There's a scrum in the corner. Matt Pauley.
I'm gonna channel my inner Trump and say fake news.
So, do you hate us?
No, I can't hate you guys. I love you guys.
Well, we love you. Do you have any more fight stories? Because honestly, we can skip sports and just talk about all the altercations you've been involved in.
It was not a fight.
Wait, we got another one?
No. I'm just saying, there's no fight. It was somebody. Really, when we break it down, it was somebody speaking rudely to me and acting in a physical manner where somebody else thought I was going to get punched.
What I love is that somewhere like John Mozeliak or one of his aides is listening to this and going, "Oh, there was a fight at the Cardinals caravan with a KMOX
I heard on
broadcaster."
KMOX that our sports guy Matt
Started
didn't
punching
actually get
fans.
into a fight. It's not what happened. So wait, what happened here? Tell us about.
Was there another one?
No.
Oh.
No.
Okay.
Do you have any other fights?
I don't like this. I really like. I don't get into confrontations very often.
That's what you keep saying, and yet, okay. Other than Walmart and the Cardinals caravan, have you been in any other altercations that we should know about?
Recently, no.
Well, not recent. Nope. Let's go back.
Recently,
Think back, Holly.
I mean, I've gotten upset. Like you were talking
He's
the other day about
filtering.
your cable situation. I'm sure I've had my
Yeah.
fair share of like customer service experiences where I get frustrated, but who hasn't had that?
I love how many times Matt's stories end up with, all right, this is going to end one of two ways.
You can either open up this aisle so my wife can buy her turkey, or you're going to be calling the police.
Hey,
see, I'm proud of that story. I shouldn't be, but I'm the turkey story from back in the day in Colorado, where I made sure my wife got Thanksgiving dinner, and I was willing to go to jail over it. I'm proud of that story.
We're proud.
I think I was being a good husband.
We're proud for you. Yeah.
A
Thank you.
texter says that Amy might bring out the Hulk in Matt.
Well, but I haven't seen the fight.
You won't like
Yeah.
me when I'm angry.
Oh, see?
Yeah.
Now, have you ever said that earnestly to somebody?
No.
Or have you ever said anything like that?
No.
Like, you're not going to like where this
again,
is going to go, buddy.
Like
You
going back to
did.
the story from earlier this week, my literal tone was like, "You're hurting yourself more than you're helping." Like, I mean, it's so dismissive. It's so like my whole like, it's just the whole. What are we doing here? Like that, I could say that about a lot in life. Like, what are we doing here?
Okay.
That's how I go through life. Like when I get done with this conversation, every single time, twice a week, I hang up and I say, "What
You're going to
were
punch
we
a wall.
doing there?"
You're going to punch a wall.
I did punch a wall once in my life. Once
Okay,
in my
okay,
life.
All right.
What
What was
happened?
that about?
I was in college.
Okay.
It was a Cardinals game that was on TV. It was a playoff game. Something happened.
What
I don't
happened?
What
remember
happened?
exactly what. No, like something happened in the game, and I was really upset, and I was like frustrated, and I kind of just sort of punched in the air, but it wasn't air; it was a wall. And on next thing I knew, I looked down, and there was a hole in my wall. I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And then I remember I'm with a buddy. And we're like, we got to go to Home Depot and figure out how to fix a wall. So we go to Home Depot at like 9 o'clock at night as soon as the game gets over, and we're each like wearing our Cardinal gear. So I'm in college at K-State at the time. So this happened in Manhattan, Kansas. And I remember to this day, like we're looking around as 22-year-olds or whatever, trying to figure out how to fix a wall in a bad apartment. And somebody sees that we're both wearing Cardinal stuff, and they've got a kid with them. And this guy comes up to me and goes, "Oh, how'd the Cardinals do tonight?" And I was like, in a very dismissive tone, like, they lost. And their kid did like a Simpsons level, ha ha. And I hate that kid forever.
Wait, what did you say to the kid? Anything?
I walked away. Like, I was just like, that was the worst part of it, because it was a complete accident that my hand went through the wall. I was just like frustrated and kind of flailing my hands after, I think it was a walk-off loss or something. And yeah. And then I'm like really freaked out. I think I'm going to like owe thousands of dollars because I don't understand what drywall is.
I love how this, I love how this 8-year-old taunted Matt.
Matt's still thinking about it. It was in college. I hate that kid. Would you recognize him today, Matt?
No,
listen
I would
to
not.
me. Listen to me, little man. I will bury you.
Was it when Matt Holliday, remember when the ball like hit his shins?
At Dodger Stadium, right?
Yeah. Went between his legs or something.
I think it might have been, I think it was game. Okay, so the Pujols homer off Lidge against the Astros, that was a game 6, right?
Was it Reyes? Maybe.
I think it was the game 7 of that Astros series, if I'm remembering correctly.
The Astros
I'm not
series.
for sure, because they won that game in 6, and that was so awesome, and that home run still hasn't stopped flying. And then a day or two later, they end up losing.
Text the show at 314-436-7900 if you have ever punched or broken something because the Cardinals messed up.
Yes, this is a great ask.
I'm
Great
curious
ask.
about this because we tend to classify ourselves as very measured and knowledgeable, but there are people who lose their minds.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
wanna
we don't have
know,
a jail in Busch Stadium like they do in Oakland. They have a little courthouse in Oakland.
312. Well,
In
I
the
think
stadium.
It's not a courthouse.
It
It's
is.
like a holding cell.
It's a court. No, there's a court and a judge.
There's not a judge
There is.
at
I
the
promise.
ball game.
I promise there is
Matt,
in
is she
Oakland.
wrong?
Not the A's, the Raiders.
I thought the Eagles had that. Don't the Philadelphia Eagles have like
I think they do
like
too.
right
but the
there
new,
where you can be tried?
The new Vegas Stadium will also have a little judge there. I'm not even kidding, for the Raiders.
A little judge. a little judge?
Like a little ballpark
It's got to
judge.
fit in the mini room. 314.
If you are over 5'8", you are not allowed to be a judge here.
If you can ride this ride, you can't be a judge.
It's like Six Flags.
Yeah, but no, there is a little courtroom and a little judge in the new Raiders Stadium in Vegas. I'm not even kidding.
314-436-7900. Text us if you have punched or broken something
Because of
over
the Cardinals.
Because of the Cardinals.
This is
I'm not
great.
going to ask Blues fans because they're hockey people.
Yeah.
Hockey people punch stuff.
For fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's part of the game. So it's different.
I love this segment with Matt. We need a new name for this segment. Something like "What did Matt punch?" or like, Matt's losing it. I don't know.
If Steve Moore ever calls us one day and goes, "You're not going to believe it," the first thing I'll say is, "Matt's been arrested."
Matt got in a fight.
And Steve will go, "How'd you know?"
Going to pick a fight.
It was
I've never been. Ron, have you ever been arrested? I've never been arrested.
No.
Okay, here's the thing. Have you ever been in handcuffs by the police?
No.
Have you been thrown up against a wall?
The only thing, the closest to that was.
He's always got an adjacent
I'm in
story.
college.
No. But here's
And
the thing.
I was in a K-State vehicle. We had done a student broadcast, I think, down in Lubbock. K-State was playing Texas Tech, and I was speeding, like really speeding. And I had a radar detector, which did not work clearly. And I got pulled over. But when I first saw the cop like pulling out like a half mile behind me, like it went through my mind, I wonder if I get off on this exit, if maybe he won't see me get off on the exit.
Yeah, 'cause
So
you should
like an idiot,
disappear.
I got off on the exit, And about 3.2 seconds later, he was right behind me because he has a cop car. And he did ask me to get out of the car and come sit in the back of his car for just a moment.
Really?
Wow, Matt.
And he just gave me a ticket. Like the moment he saw it, like there was nothing going on.
So when you sat in the back of his car, were you just like, you were not handcuffed?
He
or
asked me, he's
anything?
like, so where were you going? I was like, somebody had to use the bathroom. And he's like, well, there's a convenience store just down the road a mile away. I remember getting back in the car and I looked at the 3 other guys. I'm like, we are going to this convenience store and somebody is going to the bathroom.
Yeah. I have thought about that though. I have driven more quickly because I needed to get to the bathroom. And I bet that excuse is used all the time. Law enforcement has to hear that excuse all the
probably
time.
do.
But I would actually have to
I don't
go.
know if it works as much as it used to. A
It
text
did
message.
not work in Texas.
Oh, text. Yeah, no. Text message, Matt. So who did Matt punch at Cardinals Caravan? What happened?
Lars Newbar.
Yeah, what did you do?
He punched Lars Newbar.
Matt did not punch anybody. He told an old guy who was trying to get into the kids' autograph line that he's not supposed to be there.
The guy's like, look at my kid. I'm going to show you a picture of my kid. And Paulie's like, I don't care about your kid.
Yeah.
He rolled up his sleeves.
The more I've thought about it, the more I think that guy was actually lying because as one of the Cardinal staff members made the point, as he was going through his phone trying to find the picture of his kid, he had to scroll for a while. If you come to me and say, hey, can I see a picture of your daughter? It's like the first photo there because my daughter's super cute. And this morning she's in the car as I'm taking her to school and she decided to put my sunglasses on. It's like, oh my God, this is the cutest thing in the world. And I started taking pictures and texting them to people. So I think that's the way most parents are. This guy had to scroll for a long time to find the picture of his quote unquote kid.
If you're that proud of your son, shouldn't he be the very first thing that you see when you open your phone?
And why is your kid with a different family? Just like a stock
the
photo.
background, like my daughter is the background on my phone. So
Here's
when I press, when turn on, there's a picture of my daughter. Like that's normal, I think.
This is my son. That's his new family. There's his new dad, Jim. I don't like him.
Ugh,
All right.
I just love.
Hey, Matt.
I love this story so much, Matt.
Matt, we accomplished nothing. What's on Sports Open Line tonight?
All right, so tonight we have a countdown to opening day, which we're going to relive a lot of the winter warm-up stuff. So that's going to be going on.
But
Myself and Mike Claiborne.
No caravan stuff. There's not going to be
No
any
caravan
caravan stuff.
And then if I can plug something, so we're working on doing more exclusive online content to the Cardinals Conversations podcast page, and I'm going to have a number of like weekly podcasts we do, including each week I'm going to talk to somebody who is like a podcaster or a blogger or somebody who writes about the Cardinals online, and we're starting that today. Pretty much as soon as I'm done with you guys, we're going to post that, but we're going to be adding a lot of exclusive podcast only audio items to our Cardinals Conversations podcast feed. So that's going to be up here in the next 15, 20 minutes.
Awesome. Matt Pauley. Oh, by the way, KMOX.com for all that stuff and the Odyssey app. Got to get the Odyssey app. It's awesome. Get all the podcasts, live shows, whatever. Matt Pauley, we appreciate your time. And we say goodbye to the KMOX powder keg, Matt Pauley. Thanks for hanging out.
You bet. Talk to you guys later.
Matt.
This is my favorite segment of the show now. I want him to get into more confrontations.
Oh, this guy. I'm telling you, he is.
And people need to meet him because he is, on your first impression, you think gentle giant.
What a nice guy.
What a nice guy. Because he's tall. How tall is he? He's very, very tall.
He's taller than me, like 6'4"-ish.
Yeah, because you're tall.
I'm 6'2".
Are you?
Yeah.
I thought you were 6'3",
And Carol
6'4".
told me I'm going to die sooner today.
Because you're big?
Not today. No, she said people who are tall don't live as long.
See, that's what tall people always tell me. They're like, oh, it's like big dogs. That's what they say.
That's
big
what
dogs.
I said. I said, well, like I'm a dog.
Yes, that's what they always say. My tall friends always tell me, well, I'm not going to live very long like big dogs. You're going to be fine. You're going to live a lot longer than anybody wants you to.
Oh, we have a texter who says maybe we should call our bi-weekly hit. Is it a bi-weekly? No, it's we talk to him
Bi-weekly
twice a week.
can mean twice a week or every other week.
All right,
It's
so-
very confusing.
So bi-weekly hit. We should call it the anger management segment.
Oh, that's pretty good.
That's not a bad idea.
Anger management.
But we want to hear from you. 314-436-7900. Have you ever punched or broken something because of a Cardinals game or something the Cardinals did?
Why don't we call the segment, You Matt, bro?
I hate you. This is the second time I've had to tell you I hate you.
I know it. I have nothing but love for you, Ranj.
Are you Matt, bro? That's kind of funny, actually.
You're smiling.
That's not bad.
You saying you hate me, but you're smiling and you're laughing. You
Amy
Matt,
Marks
bro?
scores. That's Amy Marks scores. I'm Chris Ranji, and this is the historic, the legendary KMOX.
What if you ordered a pizza, but when you opened the box, a couple pieces were missing? That would be upsetting, right? Now think about how much money you believe you have saved for retirement. Do you still owe taxes on that money? If you do, that could take a big bite out of your nest egg. Ken and Lori Heisey and their team at Heisey Advisory Group understand the importance of tax planning and can help reduce the impact that Uncle Sam has on your retirement. Give them a call today to start working on your retirement tax plan. 314-328-4400. That's 314-328-4400. Now may be a great time to lower your future tax liability. Create a retirement plan today so that you can get as many slices of your retirement pie as possible. Call Ken and Lori Heisey at Heisey Advisory Group at 314-328-4400 today and schedule your visit. That's 314-328-4400. The firm cannot give tax advice. Investment advisory products and services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor.
What if everything you got came with a little bit of money? Spicy chicken ramen with a side of quarters, a full tank of gas, and a $5 bill, an entire pantry's worth of groceries, and a pocket full of cash. Well, then you'd be living life on the upside. The first platform that gives you real cash back in real life wherever you roll. Restaurants, grocery stores, gas stations, all cashback opportunities. So order the expensive appetizer, buy a little extra at the store, fill your gas tank till the pump stops. Because with Upside, you can. Start earning cash back just for doing you. Download the free Upside app and use promo code SPICY for an extra $10 cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more. That's promo code SPICY. Promo code SPICY. SPICY for an extra $10 on the free Upside app. Start living life on the upside with the free Upside app.
Track your blood donations right from the palm of your hand and stay updated on special promotions. Download the American Red Cross Blood Donor app today. To learn more, go to redcross.org.
More Amy, more Chris. What is this weird show? The Show on KMOX.
Amy. Amy, I'm not going to say what you think I'm going to say. But I'm going to request, and I'm sorry to everybody listening to the show right now that I'm not going to tell you what just happened exactly, but I am going to request to Amy, you not tell me stories like that right before we go back on. Give me like 2 minutes to recover first before we have to turn these microphones on and start a segment.
Thanks,
Amy. Amy.
Chris,
What?
Ranji.
Can I kind of?
No, nope. I love you. You love me. We're all good. Here's a story. Here's something I was going to ask you.
Let me just say, I'll just say this.
Yeah.
Amy is a special person despite the test she took. She is a special person. All right. What do you have a thing about something?
I'm inspirational.
You have overcome so much.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So I saw this on Twitter. A woman tweeted out, I'm at a friend's house or an acquaintance's house, and I noticed they have displayed on their coffee table a book that they borrowed from me. It was her book that she wants back, and they're obviously using it as decoration on their house. And she said, how do I tell them, hey, that's my book, can I have it back? And I thought, certainly that's happened before where you've lent something to someone, and it's always a little awkward to have to ask for it back. But we've had to be in that position. But what if it's displayed? They're obviously using it as their own.
I have lent somebody. I had a roommate just take a hat of mine years ago. So he was like, "Hey, I'm going to borrow this hat." And he didn't. I don't think he said was it okay. He's like, "I'm taking it."
Yeah.
And I said, "Okay." I never got it back, and he wore it all the time. That's probably the only thing that I can think of. But it's kind of a kick in the face where you wonder where that book is, and then you go to your friend's house and it's displayed on the coffee table like it's part of the decor. How do you handle that? I think what you say is, "Hey, that's my book. Can I have my book back, please?"
See, you would say that. I can hear you saying that.
Yeah, but if you say it like you might be serious, but if you say it jokingly,
like I'm not mad.
Your friend probably says, "Oh gosh, I wondered where I got it. I wonder where that came from."
Or it's almost, gosh, I wonder if it's better if you can see it versus you gave them something like a sweatshirt. Like they borrowed a sweatshirt that you kind of want back, right? We all have a favorite sweatshirt. Do you just say, "Hey, remember when you wore that sweatshirt? Can I have that back?" Do you just bring it up? Why is it so uncomfortable? It shouldn't be. Is it because you're implying that they're not going to give it back, that you don't trust them?
That's a great question. I don't have an answer for that.
Have you ever had to ask someone for money when they owed it to you? I hate that.
Yeah, I got one guy right now can't get a hold of.
How much does he owe you?
About $500.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Is it Dave?
It's not Dave.
Okay.
Do you think I would ever lend Dave money?
I don't, but
If Dave were in jail and I was the only person he knew and getting him out cost $30, I'm not giving it to him. I'm not giving
the feeling's mutual.
Dave, no, $30. Keep him county. He'll be all right. What about Tyler Rosen? Would you give Tyler money to get out of jail?
Yes.
I wouldn't either.
I would give Tyler money to get out of jail. Well, I mean, some money. How much? I mean, if they're holding him for $50,000, no. I would give him a small amount.
Is there any way or is there a person that no matter what the amount is, you think they probably need the lesson and you're not gonna get them out? If it's $1, if bail is $1, you're not gonna do it?
That's a great question.
Dave's my guy. Tyler too. Pretty much everybody in this building.
What?
Actually, you need to spend a night in jail.
I've done nothing wrong.
12 o'clock hour coming up. We will talk to Representative Marlene Terry next on KMOX.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing. Together, millions of things for our planet. Make the switch to green soaps and personal products and green cleaning products for the sink and shower. When we each share our one thing, it becomes a million things for our planet. What's your one thing?
You have more control over how much you pay in taxes when you retire than at any other time in your life. Don't miss Your Retirement Professors, Saturday afternoons at 1 on St. Louis's News Radio, KMOX.
Find what moves you in the new year. Find your why. Join the Y by January 31st and pay no joining fee. Plus, get $25 in Y-Bucks. 24 branches in Missouri and Illinois. No contract. Stop in or visit gwrymca.org.
I hate winter, but as a kid, I used to love it snowing. And my dog, when it snows, he's just like me being a little Hoosier. When it snows, we wake up and we would just run outside. We didn't care what we had on and just run around and build snowmen and roll around in the snow. He does the exact same thing. He can't build snowmen. He wants to do snow angels. But if you can picture this, he's a big German Shepherd, all right? He's good size. But he's got little legs and little arms. He doesn't know he's a dog, but he wants to make snow angels, so he tries his best. And he just ends up just rolling around in circles for the longest time. You got to love it. But that being said, keep the calls coming. One easy number, Missouri and Illinois. It is 314-293-2600. That's Bart Inman, 314-293-2600. And BartInman.com. That is a B for Bart. Bart with a B, Inman with an I.com.
KMOX, KEZK HD2, K254CR, St. Louis.
The home of the Cardinals, KMOX. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Need to sell your home, but not willing to play the wait and see game? This is Debbie Monterey with Gloria Liu with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. With Gloria Liu, you have seller options to choose from, including a no-obligation cash offer from one of Gloria Liu's cash buyers. It's simple, straightforward, and in many cases, you can receive a cash offer in less than 24 hours. No more wait and see game. And you can even pick the closing date. With Gloria Liu and her cash offer program, you are always in control. Not ready for the cash offer? No problem. Gloria Liu has a guaranteed sold program that states Gloria will sell your home at your agreed to price and time frame, or she will buy it herself, guaranteed in writing. Gloria has solutions and options for every seller. So call today and ask about Gloria's no obligation cash offer program or the guaranteed sold program, 314-325-6888, or online at gloriahasthebuyers.com. Conditions apply. Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date.
Hi, this is Ken Newbold for Newbold BMW. We just celebrated our 35th year as a BMW dealer by finishing our multi-million-dollar renovation. So come see it. It's Newbold BMW in O'Fallon, Illinois, or newboldbmw.com. You'll be sold on Newbold.
Mid-America's most trusted source for news. KMOX.
At 12 o'clock, it's a cloudy sky, 40 degrees downtown at the Arch. The news is sponsored by Michael's Flooring Outlet, the flooring experts, michaelsflooringoutlet.com. I'm Michael Calhoun. Our top story this hour.
CBS News special report. Alec Baldwin's attorney calls it a terrible miscarriage of justice after New Mexico prosecutors said the actor will face criminal charges for the shooting on a movie set that left cinematographer Helena Hutchins dead. Legal analyst Lori Levinson.
Baldwin has been arguing this whole time that it was just a terrible accident and that he did not cause the accident, but rather the armorer did. However, the district attorney has decided to charge both with a charge of involuntary manslaughter.
CBS's Chris Van Cleve says prosecutors, in making the announcement, said there was a criminal disregard for safety.
The special prosecutor said if any of the three people that have been cited in this case, the assistant director, Halls, is also pleading guilty here. If any of those three had done their job, the statement read, that Hutchins, the cinematographer, would still be alive.
The involuntary manslaughter charge is punishable by up to 18 months in jail and a $5,000 fine. CBS News special report. I'm Steve Kathan.
The world is getting a look at Illinois with Governor J.B. Pritzker in Davos, Switzerland.
Illinois would be around the 19th largest economy in the world if we were an independent country.
He's at the World Economic Forum talking about how green the land of Lincoln has become.
We've been a pivotal leader on clean energy. The signing of the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act and the REV Act are just examples of that. We're continuing to prioritize clean, sustainable growth.
Pritzker says he covered the trip's costs, though the state did pay for a security detail to accompany him. We're getting closer to the debut of St. Louis City SC.
City coach Bradley Carnell is about a month away from his team's MLS debut, February 25th in Austin.
Every day we come to work now, and the last week has been amazing. The guys emptying the tank every single day, adopting the messaging, taking on the philosophy, growing together as a group, and you can now start seeing the projection of where the team can go.
City has a scrimmage in Fort Lauderdale against Charlotte on Saturday. The team they'll open with at City Park on March 4th. Tom Ackerman, KMOX Sports.
A protector of St. Louis's past has passed away. Greg Ronberg died yesterday while being treated in the hospital for a combination of illnesses. He was an owner of New Way Concrete Forms and Construction Supply and the founder of a private museum called the Antique Warehouse, in which thousands of items of our area's history are cared for. In years past, he was a co-host on the KMOX feature, What's It Worth? The KMOX Business Desk, workers are getting paid more.
With high-profile efforts to unionize at companies including Starbucks and Amazon, and with the number of labor strikes jumping almost 50% last year to its highest in 17 years, it would be reasonable to assume that more American workers are now in unions. But they're not. Fresh numbers from the Labor Department find that U.S. union membership dropped to a record low in 2022, with 10.1% wage and salary workers part of a union. Andrew O'Day, Bloomberg Radio.
The Dow from Stifel's down 208 points to 33,088. And we've got a stalled vehicle 44 East at Big Bend in the center lane. There's some debris on 55 South before Route A. The left lane is closed. They have cleared the crash. It was 44 East at Big Bend, but still a stalled vehicle 70 West at West Florissant. The left lane is closed.
Windy and cold this afternoon. Temperatures keep sliding back through the 30s, and there's going to be some showers, I think, of rain or snow, especially city, north and west. Real feels in the 20s. Real feels down to teens tonight, clearing back out, brisk and cold, and then back up to 41 with a sunny, breezy, chilly day tomorrow. Clouds increase Saturday and some rain or snow Saturday night into Sunday. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Steve DeVore in the voice of St. Louis, KMOX.
It's a cloudy sky, 39 in Florissant, 40 in St. Peters, and 40 downtown at the Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
Amy Marks, Cords, and Chris Ranji on KMOX. Good to have you with us this afternoon. Hope you're enjoying your lunch hour. And thank you for spending your time with us on the Odyssey app or 1120 AM or 98.7 FM. We are going back to the guest line. Missouri Representative Marlene Terry represents District 66, St. Louis County, joins us today on KMOX. Marlene, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
And the reason we are having you on, we've been talking to a lot of representatives and senators within the states about the bills that they are proposing in this legislative session. So tell us about HB 66.
That's my African-American bill. I wrote that bill because there's been a lot of conversation in our schools around education as to what should be taught and how it should be taught and who has to say in what should be taught. And so there, to me, has always been a lack of information given to students about African-American history. So this bill was written to give the children the opportunity to learn about their history, Native American and African-American history. And that's how this bill came along.
And looking at this bill, there are a lot of historic details about Indigenous people as well as the enslavement of African Americans, the history of that in the United States. Is this something that you feel some schools might be teaching this historic facts, some schools might not be delving deep enough into it, but you just want to codify the historic fact that all schools should be teaching it to at least this base level?
Well, yeah, I think all schools should be teaching it at this base level. You don't hear too much about schools having that in their curriculum or teaching it. There was a time when African American history was taught in our public education system, and that's just not so. And I've said over and over again that I think that if all children learned of our history, the actual history, what had happened, or how our ancestors had to live their lives, that it would make individuals be more respectful and more considerate of the times that we have now. You know, we just celebrated Martin Luther King's birthday. You wouldn't be surprised that there's a lot of children that probably didn't know about Martin Luther King or didn't study that or haven't studied that at school. I've heard several students say that they've learned, but they learned from home or from things that they see on television, and it's just something that's not taught. You know, one of the basic reasons that's in that bill for a long time, not only I, but you also probably thought that Christopher Columbus discovered America, correct?
Right. You hear the poem in 1492 when Columbus
Yeah.
sailed the ocean blue. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what people thought, but that's not true. So I just think that, children of today will have a better perspective of life.
Mm-hmm.
They would be more considerate and respectful of things that we have now. If you look back from which you came, you would be more appreciative of those things. And it's interesting. You hear some people say they don't want to hear about the bad and stuff like that, but that's life. I mean, that's history. You can't take history away, and it has to be the facts. So, I mean, that was the inspiration of this bill. We've had different bills passed through legislation, and so I just felt like it's a fair chance that African-American history is taught as well.
In an environment now where, there was a lot of CRT discussion, critical race theory discussion last year, and maybe going back a little bit more than that as well. And you have Missouri Senator Andrew Koenig, who is proposing a bill to eliminate that or prevent it from being taught, which it really isn't taught to younger kids anyway.
Right.
But he said, his quote was, they want to place that blame on people today and an entire race as endemically racist, and that's who they are because of some action in the past. So there's this feeling that maybe we are, teaching these things, and it's making people today feel guilty, and let's not do that. So in an environment like that, how much opposition do you think you'll get for a bill like this?
A lot, because I've heard this. I serve on the education committee, and I've heard, we're going to be held accountable for things that happened in the past that people did. No, that's not so. I mean, again, this is history. You have the wars. You have to talk about things that actually happened in the wars that could have been hurtful or harmful for someone to hear about. But I don't think that today individuals will look at individuals because of things that happened in the past and accuse them or blame them for something like that. But it's something that needs to be known, the actual fact. And if they feel guilty or if they feel some type of way, then I think they need to check their own souls, because that's not a good excuse. That's not a good excuse. Just think of all the times then that, and I'm an African American, that we had to actually look at some of these things or even witness some of our ancestors and not like it and cry about it. It hurts. Yes, it hurts, but it's the truth. And the truth to me is the best thing that can be taught, like I said. And if you look at where we came, we don't go back and make those same mistakes. This could be a learning process as well for any individual that didn't even know. But no one's holding anybody accountable for things that happened in the past. No one. It doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and looking at your bill as well, just to clarify, you lay out just historic fact, looking at the way the American, the Native American, indigenous people were pushed off of their land, and looking at American slavery and chattel slavery, looking at different specific and significant historic events from the Homestead Act and what the Homestead Act was to the economics of slavery and moving forward with the realities of slavery. It's very historic. It's not a critical race theory bill because, again, going back to CRT, that's a worldview of a graduate level theory in the same way that you have Marxist theory. It's very high level. This is not that. You're looking at the history and just lay out the facts that took place from Christopher Columbus and landing in the Americas or the West Indies, and the way he, mistook where he thought he was. Going forward with all of that, my experience learning history was a little bit different because I was homeschooled, so I can't speak to what was taught in the public schools. But I remember learning that history is really ugly, and you need to look at the ugly parts and say, you can't gloss over the treatment of the indigenous peoples. It was pretty awful. And history, whether you're looking at the history of Europe, the history of America, there's a lot of ugliness there that needs to be addressed. And you also mention in your bill the difference between American chattel slavery and Old World slavery. And that's really important too. I know we had a book, American Slavery by Peter Kolchin, that talked about that. That's a really important point to point out so kids understand how unique American slavery was.
Yes. And so I have a grandson that's really into history. His father was a history teacher. We try to make it. My daughter actually travels and take him to different places and museums so that he could actually see things for himself, and she shouldn't, not that she minds, but she shouldn't have to do that if it's being taught educational wise. And so this bill is just meant for that. I'm in agreement with all children knowing the correct history. And I'm just glad that you get it. A lot of people get it. And it's not meant to cause anybody any harm or anything like that, or make anybody sad or anything like that. So that was the intentions. I have the bill. The Senate side has the bill. Senator Mosley has the same bill. And so we're hoping that this session, that it kind of move along, that at least it's heard. Get a committee hearing and it's going to be heard.
If it does, if everything goes well, when do you think we'll have a resolution to it, one way or the other?
If it goes well, then our session does not end until May. And then those things aren't put out in the books or on law until like August, somewhere around there, or October.
Have you had any support from across the aisle?
I have meetings to have conversations with several people next week. We just been in session. This is our second week. And so I've made appointments to talk to individuals. And like I said, I serve on the education committee. So I plan on talking to the chair about it to see at least if we can have a conversation about it.
Missouri Representative Marlene Terry, we appreciate your time today. Best of luck to you. And thank you for giving us your time.
And thank you so much.
Marlene Terry, St. Louis County, District 66. And my biggest, I guess my thought on this, my prominent thought is when learning about African history, slavery, Native American history, I don't personally feel guilty about those things. And for some reason, that's the argument. The argument in opposition to teaching these things is you're just trying to guilt us.
Well,
like,
I think
nobody, I don't feel guilty, and I don't think any reasonable person who is arguing for what Marlene Terry is arguing, I don't think any reasonable person wants us to feel guilty for it.
Yeah, that's because there is the guilt aspect when people confuse teaching the history with actual critical race theory, CRT, which is a very high level, right?
That's college
graduate
stuff.
level.
That's not
right.
being done in grade school or in high school.
Well, right. I mean, but there is some of the language that filters down, I think, to people who don't even understand it, because it is a very complicated lens through which to view the world. Whether it's Ibram X. Kendi and some of the statements that he's made, right? Those can be debated and those can be controversial. Reading through this bill, it's not that. It's looking at historic facts. And I totally lost my train of thought in the middle of it, which is why I rambled extra long about it. But when you look at history, it's so ugly. And I remember learning history from a professor who was this conservative Christian professor, right? He went to Harvard. He taught at a school in Virginia. And I took a history class with him. So no one can accuse this guy of not loving his country or of being a progressive. And he said, when you look at our treatment of indigenous peoples, it's really ugly. I mean, there's no glossing over it.
And why?
And he's like, it doesn't mean that America didn't have a great, Declaration of Independence and that there were so many good things that come out of America. But he said there's no defending the fact that we pushed Native peoples off their land. And then we said, yeah, that's because you're not a real government. So he said, if you had your own constitution, if you had your own official documents and were a sovereign state, then we'd have to respect you. So the Cherokee people made their own constitution, made their own documents. And we said, okay, we weren't expecting you to do that. So we're going to push you off the land anyway.
So there is nothing objectionable or offensive about teaching what happened 200, 300, 400 years ago here. There's no that's not it's an objective fact. These things happened. We can talk about them and say all of this took place. I know we tend to think that everything we did as a young nation and becoming what we are today, everything was on the up and up. Well, it wasn't. And it's okay to acknowledge that. It's not saying we should not be a country anymore.
I mean, there was a war over it.
Right.
because we were not living up to the principles in our founding documents. And I would say there are people, very smart people, who differ on, whether or not, and that's where kind of the CRT starts to get into it, that the documents were written to be oppressive. And that I would push back against. However, again, reading through this bill, it's not looking at theories. It's looking at the historical facts, what happened, the dates, the Homestead Act, what did that do?
It's just an unserious position to say that those things shouldn't be taught. because it makes people feel guilty or bad. No, it doesn't. A reasonable person looks at the history and goes, that's terrible. Well, let's never do that again.
And that
that's
book,
it.
that book I mentioned,
it's such an easy position to hold.
American Slavery, 1619 to 1877. Really good historic book, heartbreaking, but looks at the unique cruelty of American chattel slavery, and that's important to know.
Amy Marks Core's Chris Ranji. We will get to Governor Mike Parsons' comments from yesterday in the State of the State address. Some good stuff in there, and we will hear those things when we come back on KMOX.
For everything online, it's Odyssey.com. Download the Odyssey app and listen to KMOX for all the news, sports, talk, and podcasts that move you. Odyssey, that's AUDACY.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Join Mark Patrick Seminars. Lose the weight and stop smoking. Only $49.99. Seminars Wednesday, February 1st at the Holiday Inn Express Suite St. Louis Airport in St. Louis. And Thursday, February 2nd at the 4 Points by Sheraton St. Louis, Fairview Heights in Fairview Heights. Weight loss seminar 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking seminar 8 p.m. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com.
For all the women listening right now, I want you to picture a financial advisor. What do you see? Now, you and your husband, you're meeting with said advisor. Who's he talking to? Him. That's the problem. Deanna Orff of the All Financial Group has seen this failure in the financial industry for years, and she's doing something about it. Join Deanna Wednesday, January 25th for an exclusive women's event called Women in Wealth. It's time to talk about your 401k, your business, and your concerns about retirement in a setting where you're heard and you don't feel uncomfortable asking questions. 92% of women say they want to know more about financial planning, and this could be a great first step. This Women in Wealth event that takes place on January 25th is free, but you do need to RSVP. Call 636-230-8824 or go to yourmoneymattersstl.com. Investment advisory services offered through Brookstone Wealth Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor. BWA and All Financial Group, LLC are separate companies.
Thanks for calling 1-800-GOT-JUNK. This is Sarah. How can I help?
I want to meet your tailor and your hairdresser. The people cruising around in your trucks look like catalog models.
You could be wearing one of those uniforms and riding around in one of those trucks.
You'll be a technician and a magician. That sounds awesome. It is awesome. Your job will be to make junk disappear whenever someone points at it. You'll teach me? We'll teach you.
We make junk disappear.
All you have to do is point.
Call 1-800-GOT-JUNK
or visit 1-800-GOTJUNK.com.
All the news and all that matters to you. The voice of St. Louis, KMOX.
Amy Marks Coors and Chris Ranji on the show. Dave Glover coming up at 1. We sit in for that 1 o'clock hour with him. We will be talking about Governor Parsons' comments, his State of the State address that is coming up in the next segment here on KMOX.
A little more scandal coming out of the St. Louis County Executive's office. That office tends to be a scandal factory. I mean,
is it more sexy time?
Unfortunately, no more sexy time because that scandal was kind of funny. It's not funny, but it's funny because, again, was it the chief of staff for Sam Page? Anyway, had sexy time, but he kept on his lanyard with his photo ID in the video.
He's recording it.
He was recording his sexy time.
Interesting.
And, you know, my big takeaway was there is nothing less sexy than a photo ID name tag.
While you're having sexy
Just
time.
anytime. That's not very sexy. Anyway. That's not the scandal we're talking about, lest we get diverted. Tony Weaver, if you remember, was the ex-aide to County Executive Sam Page. So he had pleaded guilty to corruption crimes, and he had tried to use a federal grand jury confidentiality to avoid releasing subpoena details and all these things. It was a very big mess. Well, Tony Weaver, now it has come out, bragged to an informant, quote, "When Sam Page's term is over, we'll all be millionaires and won't have to worry about anything at all."
Oh, boy.
That's according to a court document that was filed Wednesday by the U.S. Attorney's Office in St. Louis. So Tony Weaver will be sentenced later this month, and that was written by U.S. Attorney Hal Goldsmith, and it asks for a prison term with federal guidelines recommending 12 to 18 months. So back in June, there was an indictment of Weaver accusing him of attempting to fraudulently obtain COVID-19 funds for a local businessman in exchange for share of any money or profits that he made.
He says, "I hope they don't forget about me when they win," talking about re-election, and then says, "When Sam wins again, then we're really going to start doing some stuff."
Yeah.
What did he say? We're all going to be millionaires.
Yeah.
Is that what he said?
And we won't have to worry about anything.
Okay. All right. So my general problem with any political office is people whose number one priority is self-interest. And I realize that everybody in every job has some self-interest. You don't do work without having some self-interest. We all have it in this room. Any job that you have, you got some self-interest. But when you are a public servant, I realize this is just an ideal way and an unrealistic way of looking at things. This sort of story reinforces the point that a lot of people who hate all politicians make all the time, and that is politicians are only in it for themselves. And it makes it harder for me personally to make the case that no, all politicians are not necessarily in it for themselves. And I do believe that there are good ones out there. They might be in the minority. They might only be half. It might be only 10%. I don't really know. But I do believe there are people who really, truly want to do good by their constituents, who get into it thinking, I want to improve the lives of the people in my neighborhoods or my city or my town or state or whatever. I really think there are people who have that. But when you see a story like this, all I can think is, well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's a dumb
And
thought.
it's crazy because Sam Page came in to follow Steve Stenger, a guy who's in prison now because of corruption during and his pay-to-play schemes when he was county executive.
Right. Now we don't know for sure that Sam personally did anything, that Page personally promised this guy anything, but
No. This is Tony Weaver's the one that's being
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But he would be an associate of Page.
What
So
we
we don't know what that relationship
That's the thing. is
specifically was like.
Sam Page has somehow surrounded himself with people that keep getting indicted or involved in scandals. And I will say he has not been transparent because Page did try to use federal grand jury confidentiality to avoid releasing the subpoena details. Then when Goldsmith said it was up to the county to release the subpoenas, Page still did not release them, even though they were green lighted. So he's just kept a lot of stuff close to the vest. But Tony Weaver's comments about being millionaires and not having to worry about anything, not great.
When he says, when Sam Page's term is over, we'll all be millionaires, I'd like to know what made him thought that. Made him think that? What did I say, thought?
Thought that.
What would make him think something like that? I'm going to use the right words when we come back on the show.
Hancock and Kelly are now part of the expanded Total Information AM.
Hello, Friday.
Friday mornings, you'll get all the news and sports information you need to kickstart your day.
Hello, Friday.
At 8:30, Hancock and Kelly offer unmatched analysis and perspective.
You know, Hancock, I'm just grateful I get to spend time with you.
Thank you, Michael Kelly, and we like spending time with all of you right here on KMOX.
Hello, Friday.
Hancock and Kelly, now 8:30 till 10, Friday mornings on KMOX.
Jewels on Hampton in St. Louis Hills is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, and fine watches on site. Jewels on Hampton is a premier jeweler with an exquisite selection of diamonds, semi-precious stone jewelry, and vintage watches. Their expert design team can restyle your jewelry to today's contemporary style. They also do jewelry and watch repair. Need extra cash? Jewels on Hampton is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, and fine watches. Bring your collectibles and clocks, sports memorabilia, and figurines too. Jewels on Hampton, 4506 Hampton, just 3 blocks south of Chippewa. Call them at 314-752-5000. That's 314-752-5000. So if you need some extra cash, looking for that one-of-a-kind piece, make Jewels on Hampton your first stop. Jewels on Hampton in St. Louis Hills.
Balance of Nature, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm a physician, and I still see patients every day. And, so I tell my patients about this. And they ask me, well, what are you taking? And so I tell them, taking Balance of Nature. And they go, oh, yeah, I've heard about that. So I tell them how to get it. I give them your telephone number, 246-8751. And I tell them, call this number. And I said, they'll take care of you after that. So, I'm primary care. I really think that it works well for people to have fruits, vegetables.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature right now. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com for more information or to place your order. Shipping is always free. And don't forget to get 35% off your first order as a preferred customer by using discount code ARCH.
At 12:30, it's a cloudy sky and 40 degrees downtown at the Arch. Actor Alec Baldwin and a weapons specialist will be charged with involuntary manslaughter in the fatal shooting of a cinematographer who was killed on a New Mexico movie set, prosecutors announced today, citing a criminal disregard for safety. The Treasury Department has announced the U.S. has hit its debt ceiling. The announcement means the country has reached its borrowing limit and is in danger of defaulting in as soon as June. CBS News correspondent Scott McFarland says the Treasury Department is taking steps to prevent that from happening.
They're going to stop payments on some of the retirement pension accounts, things that would affect retirees down the road. Also stop the reinvestment of some security investments the federal government makes. None of that has any short-term impact, and the Treasury Department says it'll make good on this when the crisis ends, but it buys Congress some time. It gives them a few more months to raise the debt ceiling.
Tempers flared at a chaotic New Orleans City Council meeting as residents demanded something be done to deal with the city's worsening crime problem. City Council President J.P. Morrell.
Whereas people saw the conflict and the raised voices today as chaos, what I saw that is a community that's in pain.
New Orleans is experiencing its highest murder rate since the mid-1990s. We've got a stalled vehicle on 6440 going east at Lindbergh in the right lane. Some debris on 55 south before Route A. The left lane is closed. A stall 170 north at the airport, the right shoulder. Stall 44 east at Big Bend. The 2 left lanes are closed. Blustery tonight with a clearing sky. Cold with a low near 30. For tomorrow, sunny, breezy, but still quite chilly with a high of 41 degrees. Increasing clouds for Saturday with a high of 41. At the moment, it's cloudy and 40 downtown at the Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
Hey guys, Glover here for my friends Mark and Neil Gelman from thegelmanteam.com. If you need to sell your home to buy a new one, it's never been more important to have an experienced negotiator that you can trust. You need my friends Mark and Neil Gelman on your side fighting for every last dollar. Go to thegelmanteam.com.
Broadcasting from the Underlying Tree Lawyers, GetJim.com studios.
KMOX.
If you're a business owner and you have 5 or more employees and you managed to survive the past couple of years, well, you could be eligible for a tax rebate of up to $26,000 per employee. That's if you have 5 or more employees and you've managed to make it through the past couple of years. So here's the deal. Go to getrefunds.com. Getrefunds.com. You could be eligible for this tax refund even if your business took PPP, even if you are a nonprofit. And in fact, even if you saw an increase in sales, don't write yourself off quite yet. Go to getrefunds.com, click on Qualify Me, and answer a few questions. Now, this payroll tax refund is available only for a limited amount of time, so you don't want to wait. Go ahead and go to getrefunds.com. The team of tax attorneys that they've put together are highly trained in this little-known payroll tax refund program, and they've already returned $1 billion to businesses, and they can help you too. They'll do all the work with no charge up front, and then they share a percentage of the cash that they get for your business. So don't miss out. To find out if your business qualifies, go to getrefunds.com, click Qualify Me, and answer a few questions. Getrefunds.com.
Are you concerned about higher taxes, soaring inflation, and what's next for the stock market? Don't miss Your Retirement Professors this Saturday afternoon at 1 on St. Louis's News Radio, KMOX.
Your home of the Cardinals.
Arenado swings and hits it deep to left field. That ball is out of here.
The Billikens.
Jumper. Yes! Billikens win!
The Chiefs.
Touchdown! Kansas City!
We are America's sports voice, KMOX.
Chris Ranji, Amy Mark scores on KMOX. Hey, you know what yesterday was? The State of the State address.
Oh, I was going to say Wednesday.
Oh my gosh. You do say Wednesday. Do you say Sunday?
I say Wednesday because I had a buddy from college. You're like,
Mhm.
hey, what are you doing on Tuesday?
Really?
Like it was Tuesday, DEE, you know?
Yep.
I think it's a regional thing.
My grandma used to say Sunda instead of Sunday.
We'd say ice cream Sunday.
Yes. I think that's what I meant.
Okay. What do you got for us, Amy?
I don't have much except for the State of the State address. It was a 50-minute address to lawmakers yesterday made by Governor Mike Parson, and he proposed quite a bit of spending, and several of his propositions had bipartisan standing ovations.
Yeah, there was this about the expansion of Interstate 70.
This year, we are requesting $859 million, the largest investment in decades, to widen and rebuild I-70 corridor and take the first steps in adding a third lane across our state.
So that is now to expand 6 lanes from St. Louis to Warrenton, Kansas City to Odessa, that extends both east and west from Columbia.
Wentzville to Warrenton would be the expansion. That's the pinch point.
Okay. Well, this
Yeah.
says St. Louis.
Oh.
Yeah. So one of us is wrong. But anyway, or we both could be right. You never know. It is a huge interstate, it's interesting for me because I rarely am on 70. I don't go that far out west. I don't really go to St. Charles all that often. And, if I take it to Illinois to visit family, I don't use 70 really. So does it need to be? You're on it a little bit more, right?
I'm on it a little bit more than you are, primarily to drive Colorado, right? I know a lot of people use it going to Mizzou. They go
How
back and
often
forth
do you drive to Colorado?
once a year.
Okay.
And a lot of people will use it, right, going to Columbia. When I played hockey, I played at the Wentzville ice rink. So I was always driving out to Wentzville. Here's my thing. I'm not very observant, which we talked about this. I'm not observant. 70, as far as that long drive out of Missouri, never struck me as particularly awful, but we would get so many complaints from listeners about the condition of Highway 70. If you guys want to chime in, 314-436-7900. I do know driving west can be a big mess, again, as they talked about those pinch points when you're trying to maybe head out to go to Mizzou, you're getting out to Wentzville. I think it chokes up pretty quickly there.
Okay. And that's the thing. I don't really go out far that west. I mean, I've been to Kansas City a couple of times, but it's been a really long time. This would have to go a pretty long way to continuing to expand the area as well, because a lot of people are moving further and further west.
I mean, Wentzville's exploding, Lake St. Louis, all of that.
I mean, Wentzville used to be considered out there, and it
Right.
is still out there, but now the gaps closed. There are people living in between here and Wentzville. And that's a new development over the last 20 or so years.
And then again, we talked about like the bipartisan support for much of the governor's speech. I think because so much of it really did hit on what has been historically Democratic talking points, right? Like spending on infrastructure, spending on education, raising teacher pay. And there is, if that comes as a bit of a surprise that in such a red legislature, you could have bipartisan support. I think that's illustrative of the rise in populism in the Republican Party and just more willingness to spend. These seem like worthy causes, and it was good to see, I guess, both sides excited about the steps proposed by the governor.
It's good to see.
Encouraging.
It is good to see when it's acknowledged in public that government can actually work to do things to help people.
Okay, here's where I feel relieved by it. I'm thinking, why do I feel less stressed about this speech, and why do I feel so encouraged? This is what government, like you said, needs to do. Let's fix the roads. Let's make sure our teachers are paid. Let's help the region versus having politicians grandstand about like a specific book that's in a random school library somewhere in Missouri, and we're all up in each other's business.
Infrastructure, education, workforce development, healthcare, mental health, public safety. It's not one or the other. It's everything working together that allows a better future for our children and our families.
I mean, that sounds good, and I do believe that what you're talking about, what he says there, is what most people in this state, or really any state, want. They want you to take care of the things that we're talking about, the things that actually affect people's lives and that help people's lives, instead of being obstructionist to everything and everything is bad. No, we can't do that. We can't do this. You want people in government to come up with solutions, because really that's what are you there for otherwise?
So another proposition that he made, he mentioned in that last clip, a focus on workforce development and education as two of his top priorities. He is going to boost a subsidy that helps people afford childcare, and he's going to boost that subsidy by $78.5 million, which would bring total spending on childcare to $800 million.
We're proposing 3 new childcare tax credit programs. These programs will help improve childcare facilities, support employers who support their workers with childcare assistance, and allow more of our dedicated childcare workers to earn a pay increase.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the workforce is still bouncing back from pre-pandemic levels. 78% of people in Missouri believe that the expense and difficulty in finding childcare keeps a significant number of Missourians out of the workforce. That's a poll by the Missouri Chamber of Commerce and Industry. His plan would also invest $56 million for preschool programs as well.
One other thing, talking about healthcare and mental healthcare, and you know me, I believe firmly in that, and I think it is something that should be always a priority for us, because you may not have health insurance, you may not feel like you have access to get therapy, to get mental health care, or just regular health care, the typical health care that we think of, going to the doctor, and if you need a surgery, getting the surgery, because that's the sort of thing that it's not a problem for you until it becomes a problem for you. Even the healthiest people sometimes can have something crop up for them, and they can't afford to pay for it, or whatever the case may be. And I don't know if this is. I don't know if this solves a lot of problems. It seems to be movement in the right direction. He requested $3.5 million to expand the Youth Behavioral Health Liaison Program, adding 27 additional liaisons across the state, and $4 million for certified nursing assistant training programs. And you need as many people working in healthcare as we can possibly get. And a lot of people, after the last couple of years, have gotten out of it. It's too stressful. It may not be well compensated, or as well compensated as it should be. So they say, I'm done with this.
Yeah. You're right, though. Medical expenses,
and this is just a part
up.
of it.
Yeah, they stack up so quickly. I consider myself a pretty darn healthy person. I haven't really talked a lot about it, had some stomach issues, and just dealing with that. Holy cow, Ranj, it was so expensive. It was really difficult. And it's the smallest things. If you could go to one doctor's visit and there's 10 different bills that you get in the mail because, well, this specialist walked into the room or he looked at this part of your body and that's considered a different part of the exam. The way it stacks up, it's impossible to make sense of it. I can tell you that.
Well, look, I know a lot of people, it's happened to my family too, where you just have these crazy medical expenses and you wonder, how are we going to take care of this? Like, how is this possible? So then people start to ration. They go, well, I'm not going to get that procedure done, or I'm not going to get this drug. In my opinion, we have the resources as a country to say you don't ever have to worry about these things. And there is no perfect system of healthcare in the world, but a pretty good healthcare system is one where you can say, I'm going to the doctor, I'm getting done what I need to get done, and I don't have to worry about how I'm going to pay for it. There's no reason we can't accomplish that for people.
Governor Parson also proposed $50 million for school safety grants for Missouri schools. And so this would be physical security investments on the campuses, like safety plans, school resource officer programs, increase active threat trainings. So what that would look like, not sure, but he did propose $50 million for that. There was no specific mention of any crime reducing legislation.
If you have thoughts on Governor Parson's State of the State address, feel free to share them. 314-436-7900. Amy Marks, Kors, and Chris Ranji on KMOX.
Hi, it's Debbie Monterey. And when I make a recommendation, you can be sure that I've done my homework and I only promote the best. So when it comes to real estate, I only recommend one realtor, and that is Gloria Liu with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. I've been recommending Gloria for years now. I've met her clients, I've seen her systems, and she's the only agent I would trust to sell my home. Gloria Liu's proven track record for selling hundreds of homes this year alone should give you the confidence that she will help you sell for the most money, or the fact that Gloria already has the buyers. Buyers looking to buy right now. That's why Gloria will actually guarantee in writing to sell your home at your price and your time frame, or she'll buy it herself. Call Gloria Liu today at 314-325-6888, 314-325-6888, or you can find her online at gloriahasthebuyers.com. Conditions apply. Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date.
This is a test of the emergency alert system. This is only a test. This has been a test of the emergency alert system. This was only a test.
I'm Larry Mullins, host of the podcast Your Weirdest Fears, the show that explores the odd things that make your heart stop.
I am so scared of the Grinch. He is bad vibes.
We talk to everyone from therapists to exterminators to Lizard Man.
I was 25 when I actually got my tongue split. I have one tattoo that covers my entire body.
Listen and subscribe on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts from.
Hi, this is Ken.
And Laurie Heisey of Heisey Advisory Group. We're dedicated to helping individuals and families work toward their financial goals.
Join us Sundays at 9:30 a.m. for Your Retirement Highway.
Investment advisory services by individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
I'm Brian Westbrook with Coalition Life. Over the past decade, Coalition Life has served thousands of women in crisis pregnancies, helping to save the lives of the children that they carry. Help us build a better community while also reducing or completely eliminating your Missouri taxes with a 70% tax credit. A $1,000 donation today to help these women could cost you as little as $141 out of pocket. Learn more at coalitionlife.com, coalitionlife.com. Thank you.
Charlie Brennan sees clearly thanks to Dr. Bertie and Malhotra. You can too. Go to youridoc.com today or call 314-966-5000.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing. Together, millions of things for our planet. Resolve to recycle more. Recycle paper, bottles, and cans directly, and recycle old clothes by donating them. When we each share our one thing, it becomes a million things for our planet. What's your one thing?
For all your communication needs, check out the Center for Hearing and Speech. Call today, 314-968-4710 or chsstl.org.
This is the show. The show continues on KMOX.
Amy and Chris on KMOX.
Doing okay there, buddy?
No, I'm over something.
Uh-oh.
You you just hear the same song over and over again, and you just want to end it, the music altogether.
Yep.
That's kind of how I feel right now. So, Amy, we invited people to text in,
Yeah, we did.
participate in the show, 314-436-7900. You can also leave us voicemails at 944-1120. Big Blonde Dan texted in again about a knee x-ray. He said with insurance, it was $324. Without insurance, $1,400.
That's unbelievable.
And he said, I can afford it. I'm lucky enough for that. But some families, I don't know how they do it. I mean,
know.
that's
It's an X-ray.
outrageous. It's an x-ray.
I mean, you go to TSA, get an X-ray there.
Yeah, like, hey, while I'm going through this line, could you look at my knee? Another text message in regard to Governor Parsons' thoughts and wanting to expand I-70.
Yeah.
The pinch in Wentzville, this is from a 636, is due to outdated railroad overpass. I don't know. I don't go out that way.
Oh, speaking of railroads, Governor Parson did propose $35 million to improve railroad crossings.
That's good.
I don't think about railroad
Just to
crossings a
improve
lot.
the
but
safety?
yeah,
or?
safety. Because there was a train that derailed a while back. It killed 4
okay.
people. Mhm.
Okay. I have a guy I went to high school with not too long after we graduated, maybe a year or two, who was went over a crossing and there was no gate.
Yep.
And I don't think there was a light either, and he got hit.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is something that seems random, but to your point, yep, I know 2 people, they're both alive. One, a guy was running, and I think it was like in Webster, where the train crossings are somewhere in Webster Groves, maybe Afton, that area. At any rate, he had his headphones on, which I know can be dangerous, and he was running across railroad tracks that didn't have the signals, and he ran across the tracks and a train was right there. And he said it really, really scared him. He couldn't hear it. He didn't realize it was that close. Another time a guy drank too much at a local establishment and turned right on the railroad tracks and drove his car down the railroad tracks.
We asked the question earlier, have you ever punched or broken something
that's a
because of
great
a
question.
Cardinals game? We did have this person who said, first of all, let me say I am a dairy farmer. He says, I did both in the same swing. Back in the 80s, when Ryan Sandberg of the Cubs hit 2 home runs off Bruce Sutter, I had the ball game on the radio, and I was standing next to my son's 4-H project when the second one was hit. I punched the cow right between the eyes and broke my index finger. The cow did not flinch.
Good.
Don't punch
You
your
can't punch
cows.
a cow.
You can't punch animals.
I would feel less bad punching Wheeler than I would punching a cow.
Oh, I think
You
I'd feel
can't-
relieved punching Wheeler.
Yeah.
That's
you
different.
can't punch an animal. I'm glad the cow was okay.
I am too. The cow didn't even. Cow
I
looked
believe
at
it.
him like, "What's wrong with
Cows have a hard head. I know this because dogs have hard heads, because our dog, Francis, who, as his name implies, he's, kind of an indoor dog. He runs into walls and furniture head first, and he's fine. But you can hear them hit their little heads on the walls,
you?" Their little heads.
like the little judges in Oakland.
Another texter says, wanted to let you two know I was inspired by your wallet segment yesterday. And we asked the
Oh.
question, if you found a wallet with $50, what did you do? Would you give it all back? Would you keep the money and give the wallet back? Whatever. This person says, I found a debit card on the ground this morning at a gas station and have reached out to the owner.
Wow.
I'm going to shred it if they don't respond. Your commentary made me think we need to practice humanity in this world, and it started with me today.
Wow.
How about that?
We're changing the world.
We're changing somebody's debit card life.
I think this really highlights, do you know what I mean, the difference between people like us making the world a better place.
Yeah.
Matt Pauley, who
Wants to punch people.
wants to punch people.
He'd probably just shred that card and not tell anybody about it, Also, voicemails, 314-944-1120. We absolutely welcome those.
I can't believe it. I believe you got my message through to Chris Ranji yesterday, telling him not to be juvenile, not to talk in like. Let's not do like every third or fourth word. That's very juvenile. Okay. Today, he's not speaking in like. He's cleaned up his act. He's acting like a big boy now, not like a little boy. Like. It's very refreshing to hear Chris speaking like a renewed adult.
Wow.
Like, what is she talking about?
Like, I think she meant like when you say like before things, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that.
He's cleaned up his act. He's acting like a big boy now.
Is she coming on to me? I feel like Dottie's hitting on me.
Okay, it's funny. It's funny that your interpretation of that was, I think she's into me. And my interpretation was, wow, Dottie is extremely patronizing, verging on passive aggressive.
No, you're saying she's condescending me. I'm saying she's into it.
He's cleaned up his act. He's acting like a big boy now, not like a little boy. Like.
I
I don't
think
know, man.
she's
The way she
looking
said
for
it,
sexy time.
look like a little boy. You know, that's the way she said it was kind of creepy. But I think she likes me.
I
think she likes me.
don't know if she likes you. Here's what I think. I think Dottie.
She doesn't like the word like.
Dottie is, or at least feels, vastly superior to you.
Well, maybe that's how she role plays.
Oh,
I don't know. Listen to do you not hear this voicemail? It sounds to me like she wants my number.
Condescending.
She wants my number.
No, she doesn't want your
Yes,
number.
she does.
I've got it. I'll send it to Dottie.
Okay. We've got her
Like,
phone number
hey,
too
Dottie,
because she.
This is Amy.
Hey, you're welcome to leave voicemails at any time. 314-944-1120. You don't have to hit on us, but in fact, we prefer if you don't.
I think it was the opposite of hitting on you.
No. She's totally.
She was mocking you. You're a big boy, not a little boy.
No, come on.
He's cleaned up his act. He's acting like a big boy now.
I don't know. I think she likes it.
You interpret every time any lady talks to you
Hello,
as
Dottie.
She's into me.
Hello.
Did
The
you
only
see
thing
that
that's
lady?
weird about that is my grandmother's name was Dottie.
Okay.
That's very weird.
Is
for
that
me.
the one that made your grandpa return the condoms?
No, that's that was Addie. No, that was different.
Ranji's like great grandfather bought a bunch of
Great-grandfather.
condoms and
When I was a kid,
not for Ranj,
not
but,
for me,
but
for himself, because he brought him home
for sexy time.
for sexy
with
time,
his
and
wife.
she said, "No, what's the matter with you?
She
We're
made,
90. We're not doing this."
I love it. She made him. There's
Return
so
them.
much too. The fact that he thought ahead. He thought they needed them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're 90 and
Yeah.
they've been married a while, but hey.
Well, as we
Can't be too
talked about
careful.
earlier today, you can never be too careful. You don't know what's out there. You hear what happens in some.
Yeah, like the
places.
villages in Florida.
That's right. They're really into it. All right. Dave Glover show coming up. We're going to hang out with them for an hour. We're going to have a really nice time. And you're
Yes.
going to have a nice time too. Go back and listen to anything you missed on the Odyssey app. Download it. It's free. You can also listen to all the shows live. We appreciate you listening. Amy Marks Corzine, Chris Ranji on KMOX.
When you hear Diamonds Direct, it's not just a catchy name designed to get